We'll let the intro play. Hello and welcome everybody. This is DH Thorne with Flesh Priest and a very special guest. We have Connor Kendall tonight, who's joining us from the UK. So he is a vampire like me, and although I haven't been very vampiric lately and staying up late, welcome, brother. It's great to see you. First time we've ever really talked, so everyone's going to get to see that. So welcome. Thank you for coming, Connor.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. Thanks for having me. I normally jump on your live streams and they seem like a blast, so it'd be interesting to see what we touch on tonight.
You know what we get on to? It gets a little crazy. I rant and rave. Hopefully you can rant and rave too. We appreciate the rants, so don't be shy. Say what's on your mind, good, bad, or otherwise. Don't worry, there's just a bunch of people watching. I'm sure you're used to that.
He's tuned in before. I'm sure he's well aware of how we can get going.
Yeah, I mean, Fleshy shows the nips.
Okay, I'm not going to be modest. How you get going.
Well, yeah, all right.
Credit where credit is due.
We have no idea what we're going to talk about either. We're just going to shoot the shit and have a genuine meeting.
We'll definitely find something to talk about, but I'm also sure people are going to hit us with questions and shit. So if you guys got something that's really on your mind, let us know in all caps or with a pinged comment at Yepsen, YEPSEN, to make it more visible, and we'll try to answer as much as we can.
And of course, super chats are always welcome. If we reach a certain threshold, I share the love with everybody in the chat, in the group, not in the chat. I'm not going to share it with you guys. I'll share it with my guests, of course. So whatever we get. So first and foremost, I want to point out, I think I got cursed because I got a paper cut today. So if anybody wants to take credit for that, let's get going on that. Who wants to take credit for the paper cut? Are you guys?
That was
who's
me.
Watching? That was you. Fuck, man, it sucked. We got this new pair of kitchen shears, and I'm used to scissors where, like, if you wipe them down, you can, like, hold it and wipe it. Well, for whatever reason, the sharp part of these motherfuckers were sticking over the edge, and I'm really good with knives, and I don't usually cut myself. And I was like, I was like, I know what that is. Yep. Nice job. So whoever cursed me, I give you credit. You got through my defenses, and I got a paper cut. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now I know where to send the defenses. Thank you. Because there's people who like to take credit for curses, right?
If you got just a paper cut off a pair of fucking shears, then you're doing pretty good.
Right? I think so.
Yeah, I can imagine the amount of people out there now just watching this, like, finally the curse is taking hold.
Yeah, there's definitely hate watchers that watch me. Usually within like an hour of a video going up, I get 3 downvotes. I'm like, that's either a bot or those are the hate watchers. We'll see. So.
Oh, I love it.
So I do it sometimes just to keep you humble.
What, you curse me or you downvote me?
Well, both, but
that doesn't make me humble. That just makes me more of an asshole. What are you doing?
It makes you want to try harder. It's just like you said, whatever engagement just helps the YouTube algorithm. So, an upvote, a downvote, whatever.
No, that's true. Well, YouTube's changing that. Like, those little cunt bitches are changing that. They're changing that now. They're making it so that the downvotes won't show as downvotes. It's just going to be the button will be there, but it won't work because they want to protect the big. I don't want to get political, Thorne. Don't get political. They're trying to protect the big curated channels and complete bullshit. So whatever.
I remember back in the day when we used to make lightsaber jokes about the like-dislike ratio.
I know. Remember when it was green and red? I mean, yeah. EA Quetting says he cursed me. Motherfucker, I think you could... Come on, man. That's some weak-ass curse energy. Love you, brother.
I don't believe him. It would have been much worse if it came from him.
At the very least, I would have needed, like, 2 Band-Aids, I would think. At the very least.
So... We have a question here from Jasonius Arcanum. It says, question, have either of you 3 considered yourselves to be like a character in an RPG and look at the path as leveling up a character, or is it just me?
I will let you guys go first on that one.
I've definitely...
So.
Connor, go first.
I mean, why not? I mean, I guess so. It all depends. I mean, if this is a video game, it's going to be the most boring-ass video game I've ever played. Literally. I feel like I'm in the campaign mode, but I feel like I'm stuck in the demo half of the time. You know what I mean? It all depends. I mean, to me, I feel like I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly evolving, I'm constantly changing. So if we're talking in that sense, that I'm reaching a new level, sure, why not? But anything else, no, I wouldn't say so.
It's a fun narrative to have, but I don't know that it's really applicable to life. It's I like what you said about this being a very boring game. It's like the lore of this game, if it is one, does not match the gameplay whatsoever. We've got fucking wars and all this groovy shit. We got Vlad the Impaler, and I'm sitting in a fucking office cubicle. Really?
I think it makes perfect sense.
It's interesting because, like, when you have, I think it was a video I was watching on Elon Musk, where he's talking about the possibilities existence being like a video game or like a simulation. And he says, if that was the case, then you'd have to think that the world beyond this simulation must be extremely boring, because you're not going to create a simulation which is more boring than the world that you already live in.
I disagree. You know why? Have you ever played checkers?
Quick shout out before it gets lost in the chat. Jay Sauber, notice the super chat. Thank you, dude.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Jay Sauber. I mean, from a certain perspective, I don't think it's a computer simulation or anything like that. I think that's, you know, almost like too anthropomorphic or whatever, anthropocentric. But absolutely, it is a kind of simulation. It's a hallucination of some kind. That doesn't mean it's a computer program in a higher dimension or something like that. I mean, I guess it's possible, but that doesn't actually explain anything.
Mathematically, it's more likely than it isn't.
I mean, I suppose you could say that, but, you know, it's even more likely that nothing you see is real, like we talk about every time. Here goes Thorne again, talking about...
Oh, no, absolutely.
Avidya and all that. But it is all complete illusion. And just from that perspective alone, that is provable. I don't think that you can say otherwise. I don't think that there's any rational argument that you could use that could show. You could say that the illusion has objectivity to it, but you can't say that the illusion itself is objective. The best you can do is say that we all agree that the sky is blue, not what the color blue looks like. And that kind of illusion, that hallucination, wherever you think that's going on, whether you think the brain's doing that or something is I believe something's observing the brain. I don't think the brain's creating the illusion. I think something's observing the brain, and that's creating whatever dream this is. And the dream isn't actually happening in the brain. The dream is what the brain does when it's dreaming is it's almost like creating that Rorschach ink blot that I'm often talking about. It's creating that pattern of energy in the brain, and then consciousness reads that like a book or something, and it dreams into existence the rest. So yes, it's absolutely some kind of a game. I do believe it's a kind of game. I don't think it's a game like a video game. I don't think it's an RPG in the sense, but I do think that an RPG is like what you would consider like in a hologram, how they have like fractal similarities within themselves. I think it's a reflection. I think the reason that we see it like that, I think the reason we even create a game like that is it's an echo of the higher truth, you know. Just like empty space is an echo of the emptiness of consciousness, you know. I think that's a good point. So, but we'll let you guys weigh in a little bit more. Slim Lewis, Fleshy, read me Slim Lewis.
Slim Lewis with the super chat says, I'd love to hear Connor talk about his favorite mask of Lucifer and how he works with that current of Lucifer. Thank you.
Thank you, Slim.
If Vatorius is watching right now, I'm sure he just got a hard on.
Probably.
Well, to me, I think Lucifer is one of the most fascinating beings I've worked with, or archetypes, or whatever you want to call it. But I like the idea of Lucifer sort of being like that archetype of balance. You know, if you view him from sort of that perspective, you can view him from multiple perspectives. But I was working with him once when I was trying to sort of understand Lucifer at the core. What is it really? What is Lucifer as a current? You know, you have one side that says he's demonic, one side says he's angelic, other side says he's more like a devil, the other side he's more of an illuminator, and has all these different facets. And I was watching various videos and reading various articles about his feminine nature, his masculine nature. And Lucifer said, well, I'm all of these things, not one of them. You know, that you can sort of view Lucifer as an archetype of balance. And the vision that I actually had of him, of course, this is a vision of which I depict of him best suited, sort of being filtered through finite senses and all. But he was like a being. I don't know if you've seen like the traditional Asian artistic depictions of balance, where you have a being that's one side feminine, one side masculine, one side light, one side dark. And he was holding in one hand the trident, which of course, if you look at the Temple of Ascending Flame or Luciferian traditions, the trident is often associated with Lucifer. On the light side, he was holding a torch of illumination. He was like, I am masculine, I am feminine. You can view me as angelic, you can view me as demonic. I am this archetype of balance. I would say that essence of Lucifer is by far the favorite version that I've worked with, just because there's so much there that you can essentially use or essentially work with. Pretty limitless.
I'm going to say that I guess it depends on how theistic you are about it, for one thing, because Lucifer, of course, from a, shall we say, anthropological standpoint, has no legitimate origin. There is no actual, when I say that, I mean there's no old faith, there's no old god, there is no origin story for Lucifer other than a the Lucifer we're talking about. It was the Lucifer that people think of. I'm trying, it's kind of difficult to say, because there's a Lucifer that's in pop culture that everyone thinks of, and there's a Lucifer that certain Luciferians identify, but there is no origin outside of a mistranslation in the Bible from the 3rd century, conflating a line in Isaiah to mean Satan, Lucifer, right? Lucifer, Satan. This was a misunderstanding of it, and he was probably talking about, when the guy translated it, there's a very good chance, there's somebody put a video on my Discord, it was very good, well-researched. It was probably talking about a rival priest at the time. So the irony here is that this archetype, this Lucifer archetype, has its origins in several valid spirits. The trident being reminiscent of Poseidon. Those who understand that recognize Poseidon as Enki from the Sumerian. We realize that Lucifer, the story of Lucifer, fits Enki very, very well. Very, very well. In fact, everything about Enki and Lucifer, even Satan to a degree, there's a lot of overlap. There's also a lot of overlap with Venus, which means also Horus, which we can see there, because Horus, of course, is another inspiration for Jesus, and Jesus and Lucifer are very conflated in a lot. It's like they're opposites, but exactly the same. And then you have Pan, right? So there's all this weird conflation going on. And I think that Lucifer is a modern egregore that's an amalgamation of several other archetypes that are much older, but the one that, and Loki too, of course, there's a little bit of Loki in there. There's a lot of different archetypes that are blended together to create this newer egregore. Maybe this is a more true face, maybe it's not. But that's my take on it. I think, now Lucifer is, those of you who know me and my work, Lucifer is, I guess, I don't do patrons, but if I did, that would be my patron. Lucifer is my number one. That is my favorite. And it's also the one I ask the least from.
Top
Lucifer
Sky Daddy.
Yeah, and he's well, whatever, wherever daddy. I don't know whether he's Sky Daddy or Under Daddy, but whatever he is. And I agree completely with Connor in that point of there's a balance there. Like you said, I love that image of the split and the male female, because Lucifer showed himself to me as a young girl, as an adult male, as a more traditional goth angel type of deal. I've seen all of these things, and I, of course, almost all of that is my own, like you were saying, my own psychiatric overlay, my own imagery that represents the things that this entity represents. And it's absolutely a balancing force. And in my mind, Lucifer is the pinnacle of self-ascension right before complete and utter ego disillusionment forever and ever and ever. So to me, Lucifer recognizes that any god that claims to have dominion over you is a liar, because you are that divinity. You are the divinity behind all the masks. That's what we all really are. Connor is a mask, D.H. Thorne's a mask, Lucifer is a mask, Zeus is a mask, Yahweh's a mask. Actually, the real original term for Yahweh isn't even an identified being, it's more of a force, at least in the Hasidic understanding, to my knowledge. So Lucifer is that archetype that tells us we are not subservient to any of this. Don't kneel to any of it. You know, fuck this heaven. I'm going to go make my own heaven with blackjack and hookers because you're a liar. You don't have authority over me. I will respect you as a maybe a more developed being than D.H. Thorne is. So if I encounter Zeus or any other entity, I'm going to respect it because it's more developed than D.H. Thorne is, but I refuse to kneel, bow, scrape, worship, or otherwise supplicate myself. It's goes against my Luciferian ideals. And I think Lucifer leads us towards whatever term you like, apotheosis, enlightenment, Advaita, whatever it is, it leads us towards that union. And it doesn't mean union in the... People make the mistake of thinking, well, Thorne, you like to return to source. No. I know I am source. I'm not returning to source. I am reawakening my source consciousness. That's a completely different ontology. But
it's like
fascinating stuff.
It's like the whole anti-transmigration process when you hear about somebody when they do unite with source, going through all these planes and levels of consciousness and existence, reuniting with source and becoming aware of that divinity, of that expanding all, and then come back down and sort of like lock that in the self, or come back with that realization. You're embodying all and simultaneously achieving individuality.
Exactly. Well, that's why and of course, I'm not quite an Advaitin, right? A lot of my philosophy comes from Advaita Vedanta. Absolutely. I am unashamed about that at all. Like that is probably the main spiritual ontology that I look at. But there's a lot that are similar. And one of the things that is understood in Advaita Vedanta is this understanding that the Atman and the Brahman are one, and the ego and the divine are one, but the ego's role is more like a habitual action that is being carried out. And that habitual action, when aligned properly with the divine, it can seem to the uninitiated like a submission. So we're trained to submit our ego to a higher power. That's a right-hand mentality. That's like putting the ego in its place. However, the ultimate goal is not to be submissive or subservient. It's rather to recognize that the divine will is happening anyway. And the ego wants what it thinks it wants. It's a habitual action. It's not a person. It's not a being. Connor Kendall doesn't exist. D.H. Thorne doesn't really exist. We're activities, right? We're habits. We're habitual ego identity complex matrix thingy bobbers. We're a story. We're a legend. That's what we are.
We're that comfortable RPG character that you keep coming back to.
Right. Exactly. We're a collection of stats on a paper, right? And it's a habitual
maybe
activity.
Jasonius is right.
Maybe he is, right? Yeah, no, for real. I mean, that's why I don't shit on it. I think it's a little like, when we say it that way, it's maybe a little simplistic, but I don't think it's like, I'm not going to say wrong. I'm just going to say maybe in a manner of speaking, perhaps. But the role here of this what we're doing is not to become source. It is for ego to recognize that it is a action of source. It's a behavior of source. And in so align with that, not in a selfless way, because there's no other self. It's all self. You know what I mean? It's since it's all self, you can't be selfless any more than you could be self, because if there's only one, you can't have two. Anyway, mathematically speaking, if there's only one, you get into a big brain fuck about how many there are.
So I want to point out, be on your toes. Susan Wojcicki is in the chat, and she says, "What's this rhetoric about anti-transcending?"
Oh, fuck you, dude. Silicon Valley, please don't kill me. Gosh, man, fuck. You know what? We're cursing. I mean, we're gonna send Susan Wojcicki some extra love today. Let's give her some extra.
Yes, many upvotes on your videos.
Many updudes, right? Many updudes. Behemoth X and some other people said some money at us.
Yep. So from Behemoth X with that 666 says, "Please remember, Jesus died for each of your sins."
Jesus Christ died for his own sins, not mine. So saith the Goth Box edition too. Oh fuck! Who was that? That was a great. I love that song.
You just quote something?
Yes, I did. That's actually a quote from a goth song that I love. I just can't remember who the fuck it was, or the name of the song. It's an oldie from like the 90s.
I hate that you just referred to the 90s as an oldies.
Am I gonna Google it? Motherfucker. You guys talk while I look it up.
So I recognize that now, you know, if your birthday begins with a 19, you're old enough to buy alcohol, but that's just like, that's the easy identifier, but I'm just not ready for it, dude.
Electric Hellfire Club, Satan's Little Helpers. Go listen to that song. It's pretty fucking twisted. Anyway.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Atropa almost beat you to it.
Did she almost beat me to it?
Yep.
I had a feeling Atropa would get it. Because I know Atropa's a goth chick.
Most of the people here are.
Well,
Maybe
there's a
not
lot of
goth
metalheads
chicks,
too.
but...
Yeah, like goth or metal, like, or both.
I
Like,
mean,
I'm both.
metalhead is just like goth that took a different turn down the street.
I mean, a lot of pure blood goths would disagree, but I get you. Like,
I mean, I
can't
know,
argue.
but fuck it, man. I wander into all kinds of different camps. They can be afraid of my gnosis all they want.
Yeah,
It doesn't make it less valid.
Look, we often like, I don't know, like people often conflate the two, and I'm definitely both, but I don't know, man.
So we have another question from Asarte Azeroth. Says, "Hi Condor. If I keep my death current work balanced by a strong life side and follow my instincts about it, is there still something else I must do to not be broken down by the death current?"
That's a good question. Well, essentially, when I wrote the book, The Necromancer, when I was doing my path working in necromancy, and I still do it myself, you know, I tried to present it in a way which did away with all this edgy bullshit of a necromancer, because half of the people that I seen do necromancy were always talking about grave digging, and they were always talking about just this grotesque form of ritual, which was completely unnecessary. And not just that, it's very defiling. You know, if you constantly surround yourself with death, eventually you become death. It's like if you constantly surround yourself with things that are toxic, you're going to eventually become toxic. You know, you are a product of your environment. To some sense or to some degree at least, maybe not entirely, depending on how much self-control you have. But essentially, what I was trying to do was create a method of working in the death current, which wasn't completely all-consuming, which wasn't completely self-destructive. And I give in the Necromancer one of my tomes exercises for this. And I put in there that the Necromancer is as immersed into death as they should be life. You know, they should have 1 foot on either side to maintain a balance. So many people ask me, I did a podcast, someone said to me, you work with death to such an extreme, how are you healthy? Well, you have some people who are necromancers, they look like they're on death's doorstep, you know, they look like they're decaying, they look like they're decrepit. They're like, how do you stay healthy? How do you stay psychically clean, so to speak? And I'm always referring back to the Agories. If you look at the ancient tantrikas of the Agories, in their path of defilement, they defile themselves with some of the most horrendous and most grotesque energies there is. But their philosophy, or the way that they look at it, of course, I'm paraphrasing it here, and it's very simplistic here, so please forgive me, but essentially they believe the divine is within, you know, and they can't truly be utterly defiled. And I was working with Beelzebub in the 9 Demonic Gatekeeper path working, and he said with certain methodologies and certain practices, you transmute these poisons into nectars. And that's pretty much a lot of what the left-hand path is, working with dangerous and volatile or destructive energies, but in a certain manner where it's not destructive, it can actually be very beneficial. So as long as you're working with these forces, but you don't allow them to consume you entirely, or you take a certain methodology towards it, then you can pretty much walk through it unscathed.
One thing I want to say is, you know, again, from my Zen non-dual perspective, is death is a bit of an illusion. That doesn't mean that there isn't, like, words are fumbly fuck up things. So if I say afterlife, that's not what I mean. It doesn't mean that there isn't some. The ego egregore continues on after the dissolution of the body, we'll say. So when the body stops beating and pumping out blood and all that shit, what is happening is, it's not that the body dies, it's that consciousness moves on, right? Time and space are an illusion. In my opinion, everything is static. Everything is a block time universe. And when we experience what we consider time. It's really more like we're reading a book in sequence. And death is literally just leaving a character behind, if you will. And the egregore is remembered in the hearts and minds of the collective conscious for a very long time, potentially even indefinitely. Of course, it will evolve, meaning it's a living thing. So the egregore is a living thing. In the sense that it does change, and it is possible for consciousness to maintain access through it, you know. So when you are, in my opinion, I'm not into necromancy, so I don't want to outspeak my credentials, but I would say that, you know, for me, the concept of death being the end is an illusion. Death is the opposite end of birth. It's not the opposite of life. Death is a transition from not even one life to another. It is a transition of attention from the mortal body to something else. And think of it like, you know, your consciousness right now is watching a body, and that body is made up of innumerable cells, and each one of those cells has its own life essence to it, its own tiny little mind. You know, as simplistic as that may be, it is still aware on some level. It may not be aware in a sophisticated way like we are, but they are aware. Now, their awareness is so simplistic, we disregard it. We completely ignore it. We think it's like, you know, pointless to care about it. When the body dies, consciousness is already exploring this conglomerate of life and disregarding the little tiny intelligences within it. When this body dies, what's to say that consciousness doesn't just go up a level and now becomes more aware of the body of more beings, right? Living in the hearts and minds of others in the collective consciousness, as they call it. So when you die, right, when you think you die, some people will remain attached, I believe, to that egregore for an indefinite period. That, you know, grandpa dies, and you know, we remember grandpa, and so grandpa remains in our hearts and minds, and that egregore lives on, and consciousness will potentially cling to that. And this would be in Zen, I forget the word, but it can be 1 day, 7 days, or probably even longer, where you remain as this, you know, disembodied self, conscious of your identity in that way. And moving on from there, it's more like a forgetting, you know, like you forget who you were when you were 4 years old. You're completely different now. Did they die, or did you just move on? In the exact same way, when grandpa dies, as far as you know, I'm sure that will linger for a while, especially in the consciousness that grandpa was, but sooner or later that will be forgotten and foregone. And the egregore may still live on, but consciousness may leave it behind completely. So,
I mean,
go ahead.
I like that perspective, because I always say myself, when people ask me about working with the dead themselves, so like ghosts or things of this nature, I know a lot of hardcore necromancers see the spirit of the dead or that dead person as them, like that's the entirety of them. Where my perspective on it is, like you said, it's that egregore or that egoic self or the shell of that person who they once were, or at least who they projected in the hearts and minds of others. That's why in a lot of yogic sciences, when somebody dies, they burn the body almost immediately. You know, to release that prana, but also to not hold on.
So, right, they don't have an attachment to that, because that's what happens, I think, to a lot of people. Like, I'm thinking to myself, I had that same thought. I'm like, if I die, if I am supremely egoistically attached to the body, because the attachment to the body is a delusion. We think this is us. This is literally just like the tip of our finger in a manner of speaking. If you cut your finger off, that sucks, but it's like, but I'm still here. It's fine. The attachment to the physicality is part of the ego process. And by burning that, there's less to be attached to, right? So, I mean, I plan on being cremated, for the record, just so you know, for a similar reason. And, you know, that's a really interesting point you make. That's really interesting. I didn't know, if you think I would, because I'm into that stuff, I didn't know that was the main reason for that cremation. So that's pretty neat.
I know they do that a lot, but they also do it with, so there are many people around that particular area, like with gurus and yogis, and this question is often asked, is sometimes when somebody passes away, like items like clothing or things that they own move or strange and behave way or act in strange ways, it's because there is that sort of energetic signature, or it's attached to that person, or it reminds you of that person. So also a lot of the items and clothing will be burned too. And actually they recommend in India that dead men's clothes are not to be touched, that they're not to be worn, because if you're wearing them, sometimes you take attributes of that dead person, or what I refer to as the shade. I prefer that terminology more, because to me that represents the shell of what somebody once was, and that's here. And like you said, over time that can evolve and that can change and become something even more, and it can become sentient. One of my favorite conversations I had with another necromancer was, if you look at actual depictions, like paranormal photographs of supposed dead people caught on tape or on photographs, you'll find some walking up stairways where there are no stairways.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find some walls where back then, when that person was alive, there wouldn't have been a wall. So what if that is just the memory of the egoic self, almost zombified, and just walking through the same walks it would walk through during its living days? You know, it still sees the past and still exists within that time frame, but not in existence as we would necessarily think of it.
This is why I like to consider the gods, this is why I often call them dead gods or dead souls or something, because in my personal gnosis, whether it's true or not, my personal opinion and speaking to them and everything, I get the very distinct impression that they are human beings, okay? They were people that were once alive, that were deified in life. They achieved they defeated the Ouroboros, they defeated Karanzan, they completed the great work, and they created a soul, which being that egregore, they created an egregore which would remain in the collective conscious indefinitely by being a great hero or a great villain or a great chieftain or a great queen or something. And so they were deified, and in this way they were able to maintain connection to the mortal world for longer. But the problem is the collective conscious has its own influence on other beings. We know this from our own lives because we like to pretend that we're so independent and shit. But what we don't even realize is that half the time our own defiance is literally a conformity, because we're defying something because it's there. So that's making us into something, right? In Zen, you have the idea of, what you are. When you say, I am this, you're really saying, I am not that, right? That's really what you're saying, but there's so much more that you're not. So it's like you just say, I am this. So any assertion you make about what you are is a denial of everything else. So in the same way, no matter how much you might be in defiance of the world, you're still beholden to it, right? So this means that no matter how powerful and great your independent spirit you think it is still a product of the world around it. So this means even after the death of the body, you can say, well, I'm going to be so powerful, no one's going to. Yes, they will. They're going to, their ideas of you, first of all, any influence that you had through a physical means will subside. I'm not saying zero, but it will, because this becomes non-local, right? So your egregore becomes non-local when there's no body for it to associate with. This is why we use idols, by the way. Idols give us something to associate a spirit with so that they can have a medium through which to commune with us. I often use smoke as a communion medium because it gives them something to manifest through. Now, idols, this is an idol. This is an idol for who you think you are. When this is gone, burned away, whatever, discarded, if there's nothing to replace it with, then you have even less ability to keep your story intact. So what happens is someone who deifies themselves, they want to create a legend in which the plot stays pretty close to what it's supposed to forever. And you create a religion around it, a dogma around it, a doctrinal source for it. This is why it's so important, why you have a priest class that keeps things fairly sacred. And if there's any diversion, they keep it still pretty on target for what it was meant to be thematically, archetypally, so that your consciousness can have something to recognize. Just like you said before, if you have an article of clothing or something like that, something that the consciousness can recognize as the self to manifest through. But over time, this will evolve unavoidably, like the game of telephone. If I tell you tonight, meet me at 6 o'clock tomorrow, if you tell 400 people, they'll be like, I don't know, something about an egg and a pan. I don't know what this is about. It'll completely change, right? So over the course of millennia, from when the chieftain who later became known as Zeus or Thor or any of the other Jupiter, flavored deities, the origin of that was probably a great chieftain who exemplified the things that we associate with Jupiter and, all the different gods that have worn that face. And there's some differences, to be clear, but they're mostly cultural. They're not, there's like thematic differences, but archetypally they're almost always the same. This is why we can identify that Lucifer, Enki, Poseidon, Venus, Pan, because they're archetypal remnants within that new mask, right? Because we like to talk about demonic masks. I think that's a really cool, you know, or divine masks, whatever you prefer to say. Egregores, really we're talking about egregores. So I think that what happens is, and it's sort of a working that I have planned at some point in my life, and I'll probably publish a short book on it. It's the idea of sort of creating the potential for you to access this world through an idol, you know, having basically an apothecary, not apothecary, what do they call that? It's the wrong word. It's been used in Dungeons and Dragons, and it's not really, it's a Jewish term for like a record. What's the word? Can't think of it. A phylactery. So.
Oh, I
yeah,
should have known that.
Yeah, in D&D it's called a phylactery. I don't know if it's really a real thing or not, but something the equivalent of that, creating like a phylactery for yourself, and being able to access the world through that. You know, you can make it your tombstone if you want, but you know, something that can be passed down through the family, an heirloom, if you will, that you can still access the world through. And this is what they did, by the way, because you have all these gods have their altars, their idols, their temples, their tombs. That's their phylactery in it. Because I lack a better word. I don't know what a better word. I don't even think phylactery is accurate, but correct me.
I'm going to do a clone of Willie and pass it down.
A what?
You know, it is interesting. That reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen American Gods, that whole television show.
Yeah, no.
It's quite good, and it shows like all these different gods throughout time with different cultures. And it shows like a Native American tribe that leave their home because it's not bountiful. But when they leave their home, they'll literally bring in their god with them. They're carrying like this gigantic, almost like mammoth or tusked animal. This skull is decorated with all these different ornaments and all these different things. But that tribe is ultimately killed. And when the people die and the idol is left there, it shows that over the years and over time, a god dies. And they say, how can a god die? And they're narrating over it. If there's nothing to remember that god by, like that idol, that god eventually dies, and it shows the god deteriorating away. However, there's something where there's an entity, almost identical to it, that keeps it alive. It just lives now through a different mask, or a different shape, or a different form.
I think that's exactly right, because if you look at the old Greek understanding of gods and their mortality versus immortality, gods can be killed, all right? But they're not killed like you and I. They're killed in two different distinct ways. One, they are cut into however many pieces and scattered, okay? Or they fade because they're forgotten and they're no longer worshipped. Both of those imply the destruction of an egregore, because say, for example, you have a tribe, like you said, and the tribe splits up and everybody goes their different ways and takes a different piece of their god with them. Over time, the original god is forgotten, and this new god is born, many of them perhaps, and then maybe they fade. Gods fade when they are forgotten. Now, that doesn't mean they can't be resurrected, by the way. It just means that they fade, you know, and we see this in our own culture. This is why I think it's so important, because we have to remember that lurking in our greater culture and society, we call them occultists. They're not. I like to call them the hidden masters. There's people, the ones who ran the mystery schools, created them, and still to this day exist and probably run the world as we understand it on some level. These hidden masters understood this practice and understood this process. And they would, when they would take over another country back in the olden days so once upon a time they ruled the world, then they broke apart, and then they are trying to reunite the world again under the same rule that they used to have, and basically revealed themselves again, I believe. But once upon a time they ruled the whole world. There wasn't a huge there was conflict, but you know, they kind of got along. At some point they all split up, and you'll notice whenever a culture takes over another one, what's one of the first things they often, not always, do? That's destroy the old gods. They say you can't worship them anymore. Your temples must be razed and burned. Your god's bad. Or like the Romans did, they'd say you can keep worshiping them, but you got to worship our emperor as a god too. So it's usually one or the other. And that's a very common practice. And this is why I believe Christians that not just the Christians, I shouldn't just say Christians, but whatever that is that we call Christianity, the deep hidden master of that current okay, understood spiritually, psychically, occulted, mystery school level, they understood that they could amass great power if they could erase the gods that belong to these other cultures and insert their own, feeding their own egregoric god, and then replacing those gods with saints and with angels and demons and all that stuff, and basically just replace it all with their own incarnations. By destroying these other gods puts them to sleep. They can't resist, and so on. I do believe that. I think that this is, this is also why people, in ancient times, if you destroyed your enemy, a thing that would happen, especially like kings would do, they would destroy their tomb, right? They would destroy their family tomb. They destroy their legacy if they really wanted to ruin them. And
that's also just good team bonding.
It is, right? And it's a good way to make sure that the new people love you, is to make sure that you destroy everything that they hold sacred. So, yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating study, and I think that people take for granted the mythology. When I say take for granted, they take it too literally, and they don't realize that all of these things are pointing at something that, when seen through maybe not the lens I'm describing, but one like it, at least, there's a very deep story going on here that we don't see. Well, some of us do, but by and large we don't, and we take for granted. This is why people treat Lucifer as if it's this being that fell from heaven, when this whole concept is like a story that was sort of repurposed from older stories. It's not even the original story, and we don't know, right? Because there is no actual origin of this being outside of the story that was told about it. And the same thing that I say about that, by the way, I will say about you. I will say that about Flesh, about everybody here watching. You're all a story, and from the moment you were born, that story was imprinted on you, and you decided that's who I am, but that's not really who you are. And so Lucifer is the same way. Lucifer might not even know, or there may be countless egregores of Lucifer, and which one you talk to is up to you. Is it a personal version? Is it a collective conscious version? Is it the stupid one from Netflix? I don't know, but whichever one it is, I have no doubt that it's there. It's that, this is why I get like peeved about, theism and stuff, theistic occultists and stuff who sort of, like they play the my Sky Daddy's bigger than your Sky Daddy game, or I only know the true Lucifer and you don't, and all that crap. And I go, I'm not saying that you don't know a big badass version of these things, but that doesn't mean you know the only one. And these beings show themselves to us. Maybe we have the cart in front of the horse here. Maybe it's not the beings showing themselves to us. Maybe there's a whole bunch of masks for source consciousness. And whichever one we put in front of us to represent ourselves, and whichever one we respond to, it is what it is. And maybe we shouldn't take it too seriously. That's just me. I mean, that's up to you guys to discuss.
You're pretty spot on there. What I always say is, and I'm asked this a lot from my live streams, because people, they talk about entities or deities, and why did you have this experience and I had this experience? Why did he appear to you this way or act this way when it's completely different with me? And like I always say, and I always point it out, it's subjective reality. Now, my reality and your reality are never going to be the same. Yes, there may be some objective crossovers, but even that can alter slightly, or even sometimes drastically. So when you're interacting with these forces, I prefer to see each entity as a force. You're sort of interfacing. That's what you're doing. It's like right now when I'm looking at my screen, it could be it's just all code, 1, 0, this and that. However, it's interface for me to better interact with it, for me to better use this technology. And that's essentially how these beings work. It's like in that show, The American Gods, it says, why did people create gods? Well, because things happen. And why do things happen? Well, it could be because the gods make them happen. So that brings up a whole paradoxical situation.
I will remind you of the concept of a clap, right? There's a lot of different ways to make a clap a metaphysical thing. Clap your hands, all right? Clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. I mean, you don't have to if you're here, but clap your hands for a second. Okay. What was required for that clap to happen? It required two things in opposition. I'm going to jump in real quick. Yes, Fleshy.
I've got another super chat. Dice Controller has been waiting very patiently. I'm not trying to cut this conversation off short. I want to let it finish, but just putting that bug in your ear.
Gotcha. Okay. It's pretty brief, but what you just said about the one creating the other and the other is creating, so which hand causes the clap is what I'm really getting at. Which hand is causing the clap? Okay. So the same thing applies to both of us. Which one of us is creating the egregore of the other? Well, obviously what you should really think about is that we're a clap, okay? We're manifesting a reality by our interaction with each other. And it's the same reality for both of us, but we will interpret, of course, differently, just like each hand feels that clap a different way. If I clap my hands together, you would say that's one clap, but in a way it's two claps, right? Because there's two different hands experiencing it. But there's one consciousness experiencing it, and it feeds together. And this is how you get, I know it sounds twisted, but this is how my brain works. So this analogy of a clap works for the egregores as well. So like you've heard Zen people say, I think it was Mugi I heard it from first, or Muji or whatever his name was, but I've heard it from other places. I exist nowhere else in the universe the way that I exist in your mind's eye. I don't exist that way in my mind. I don't exist that way in Fleshy's mind. We each have our own subjective experience of each other. And this is why you can have two different people have two completely different interpretations of something I've said. Some people saying Thorne's an asshole, some people saying Thorne's wonderful, and they're both probably right based on what they experienced. I'm not saying they're lying. I just think that that's their perspective on it. So which one's the objective one? Well, we say the one we all agree on, but that's just a democracy of truth. It's not an actual truth, right? So what I'm kind of getting at is like what you said, you have all these different people creating these gods, but then what inspired them to create those gods? So you need two hands to make the clap. You need two egregores. You need two things to cause a thing. And that's the irony that makes it sound dualistic. But we'll play with that another time. I don't want to get like into the whole dualism versus non-dualism rant right now, but there is an explanation for that. So let's get to that super chat so that we can make Dice happy, because Dice is a longtime friend of the channel and we want to give him
okay. And we, while you were talking, we actually got a second one in there too. So
Eddie said something about that was relevant too, didn't he? All right, good.
So Dice can. Actually, first of all,
poor Dice. He's never going to get his question answered.
Oh no, this is quick. So from Azeroth, thank you. Connor, I love your book. It's great to hear from your mouth. She was the one that asked the question that you responded to. So that's from her. And Dice Controller 187 says, I know a spirit Coedding gives in writing that can teach you to survive death in different states and even take a new body. Your thoughts?
I mean, I think surviving death, I mean, like we just briefly touched on, I mean, I wouldn't say it's an end, so it's a transition. I think that's more touching on the fact of the theory of transferring one's unconsciousness to another body. You know what I mean? And I've heard there's been several cases of this. An interesting thing, the study that I looked at was a practice known as Masamadi, where essentially you completely leave the body altogether, and it's been witnessed like by hundreds of people, and even being witnessed by actual medics and doctors and stuff like that, where there was no poison involved. But this person was ready to leave the body, vacate the flesh, and in that moment they did. So if you have that such control over your unconsciousness or your spirit or your soul, whatever you want to call it, that sense of self which is beyond the flesh and beyond the mortal coil, if you're able to vacate it out like that, it could be theoretically possible that you're able to place that or control that or place it in something else. I mean, if it's something like he discussed earlier, if it's something like an idol or something like that, or maybe there is certain methods to override someone else or possess someone else. I'm not entirely sure about that. I haven't experienced it myself subjectively, so I can't give my experience on it. But that's my 2 cents.
You're experiencing it right now, brother. You're experiencing it right now. Every moment, your body is a new body. Every single moment. There's nothing the same about your body right now from right now. There's nothing the same. There's almost every particle in your body has shifted a little bit. The body that you had when the stream began is dead. So you are moving right now. Consciousness is, instead of saying consciousness is moving, let's do this in a better non-dual sense. Consciousness is shifting its attention through itself the same way you can shift your attention through your arm to your fingertip. It's shifting its attention in the dimension of time through this like big giant space worm that you call you, okay, that you call Connor. From birth to death, It's following this wavy thing that looks like a big, you've seen the picture, I'm sure, if you look in science books of a block time universe. It's following that, and every moment you die and are reborn, every moment. So really, what keeps you from transitioning to a different body? There's only one thing that would do that. If what I'm saying is correct, there's only one thing that would keep you stuck in one body. It's the idea that there is a you at all that's singular and limited and separate. So the idea that you are Connor is the reason that you don't leave Connor. You are attached to Connor in an egoistic sense. So this is why samadhi, now samadhi, of course, if you understand what samadhi is the recognition, the dissolution of the objective-subjective delusion. It is the union of all opposites. It is the Baphomet in the tantric sense. Okay, it's the perfect union of all opposites. And when that happens, the sense of identity is dismissed but not forgotten. It is dissolved but not it is destroyed and dissolved but not. It's a little complicated because it's no longer adopted by you. Okay, so when you have the moment of samadhi and you recognize that you are the infinite, and not just intellectually know it, although that is a path to it, but to truly disobjectify your identity, then it is possible on some level for your consciousness to transition to something that isn't limited to the Connor body, the Thorne body, the whatever your name is body, but potentially to something else. And then it would even be possible for that consciousness to shift potentially into a completely different person and go, yes, I witnessed them, because in that sense, right? But I think a lot of that, to be fair, is superstitious, fanciful play acting by people turning things into something they're not. What do I mean by that? It's kind of like when you go to India, you got a lot of those guys who show they can levitate, but they're really on a cane. There's a lot of fakery going on because of misreadings of ancient wisdoms. People think that, if a yogi says I can fly, it's like a tongue-in-cheek saying. They can fly, but not their body doesn't take off. What's flying is their consciousness. Their consciousness is leaving the body and is flying in the heavens. It's flying in the Akash, for example. It's not actually they take off from the ground. But then you've got these people, because they take it literally. It's just like when we take the Bible literally. We take the Bible, Genesis, literally. We go, well, that means the earth is only 6,000 years old. Well, I got a whole lot of PhD people who disagree with you. In the same sense, I believe personally, and of course everybody's different. I know some people in the chat who are going to disagree. But I believe personally a lot of that is misinterpretations of what is meant to be like, almost like a Zen koan. Like a Zen koan says something that seems irrational, but if you understand it from the Zen perspective, it makes perfect sense. Like if a tree falls in a forest with nobody else to hear it, does it make a sound? And people get fixated on the words. They don't realize the implication of what's being said. You go, well, yeah, of course there's a sound, because sound is a sound wave. Science knows this. No, you're thinking too literally. You're thinking too materialistically. Well, no, there is no sound because there's nobody there to hear it. And therefore, without somebody there to hear it, they don't recognize the sound there. So you have the materialist and the idealist conflicting about which is true. The true essence of the meaning of that is there is nobody in the first place. Nobody really exists in the first place. Sound is always an illusion. It's always illusory, no matter whether you're there or not. Sound is a figment. So this is why there's these complicated, superstitious repurposings of things, I think. That doesn't mean magic's not real. It doesn't mean that weird shit doesn't happen. It just means that I think that there's a lot of that going on. Like, I get people asking me for stuff that I don't believe is possible the way they think it is, but it may be possible. And I don't want to get into it, but in another way. And I fall all over myself trying to explain it to them. I'm like, you know what? It's just better if you let them not know, because they're never, at least not through my influence, going to get it. And it took me a lifetime to even get to this level of confusion, if that makes sense. I know I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but holy fuck, even I get confused by what I know. So, yeah, I'm rambling now. I'm kind of going all over the place, but yeah. So back to Dice Controller's point. Whether EA has that gnosis or a different one, I am convinced that there are spirits that can help you understand how to maintain connection to the egregore of self long beyond death. Whether that is something you really should want or something you shouldn't want is a matter of personal choice. A Zen Buddhist would say, let go of that self and float away into nirvana, whereas someone else would say, no, deify that self and enjoy it as long as you can. And I think both are right. I think that neither one is wrong. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. And I'm going to shut up now because I'm doing that thing again. I'm going to shut up.
Well, do you have anything to add to that, or should I pop the next question, Connor?
No, I mean, you know, I look at it from that very same perspective. I think that personally, if that's something you want to explore after death, then so be it. You know, if you want to drift away and do something else, then so be it. Like you said, the self is the self, and if we can control it during life, or what we consider the self or consciousness or the ego, whatever you want to call it, whatever facet or isolated spectrum of the self, if we can do that in life, we can most definitely do it beyond death. And I definitely do agree there are entities out there that can't help with that.
I think the word control is a little bit sticky for me, because if there is only you, what is there to be in control over? I mean, if it's all already your will, how does your will do anything against itself? You know, like control implies free will, and free will implies that there's a will that's separate from yours to be free from. And maybe control's an in situ word, but it's not. So we have the experience of that.
It's not the best descriptive term. I mean, this is my whole issue, and I'm trying to describe it. I don't like to get into the specific meaning of certain words, because otherwise it can be misconstrued. I suppose that's the only word I could really use at that time.
Sure.
But essentially what I'm saying is, like, we're aware of certain things, like, you know, near-death experiences. You experience certain things, or people have gone certain places supposedly after death, or experience it in that moment. I mean, I died twice physically. You know, I had two near-death experiences, one when I was a baby and one when I was a toddler. And I had a weird experience in both cases. And that, of course, wasn't under my so-called conscious or egoic control. You know, I didn't choose to go here. I didn't choose to go there consciously. So I suppose I'm talking in the sense of a conscious decision or a subconscious decision or unconscious.
I will concede this in a way. I will say that we have the illusion of control for sure. We definitely experience something we call control. But what that is, you know, come back to me in a few years. Maybe I'll have an answer. I don't really have one right now. So I don't mean to dispute or split words. I just think that, to me, that's a spiritual question, right? The question of control is a spiritual question, whether we realize it or not. Because it really, if you're dualistic, the word control makes total sense. If you're non-dualistic, the word control is what has control? What are we talking about? And I'm a non-dualist, obviously. Like that's my bread and butter. And I do think that most esoteric arts stem from some form of some broadly non-dual perspective. Either all is one, all is source, all is, you know, God, all is. Generally, not many dualists exist in. They do exist, but they don't exist much in. You know, in. And I, if you are one, that's fine. I'm just going into it. Yeah.
Become non-dualist. Split hairs for eternity.
That's right. That's literally what you're doing as a mortal being, is you're splitting the hairs. That's why you see reality.
You're splitting
in the
the
first place.
hairs of my splitting hairs right now.
I am. That's what we do.
God,
We're dicks.
we need to go to the fucking salon. We have so many split ends right now.
Oh man, I am such a dick, and I love it.
So we have another question from a longtime viewer that I feel is very tongue-in-cheek. The great and powerful Eddie Romanov asks, what is Paimon's favorite color?
Is gold a color?
I'd say yeah.
I don't know if I consider gold's like a reflection more to me. It's like a yellow reflection. But yeah, I would say gold. If I was going to give a serious answer, I'd say gold is his first favorite color. Probably maybe red would be his second, like gold and red together. What do you think, Connor? Would you have an opinion on that?
I go with that too. I mean, typical depictions of Paimon, wearing a gold crown, being on a dromedary, right, riding through the desert sand. It seems gold or red or sort of like crimson color around that area, sort of like the sun.
Well, because it's a solar deity, so that's kind of like where my head's at. So, but I think Eddie's making a point. Go ahead, Fleshy.
I've never associated red. To me, it's more green and gold.
But you got the gold, right? And
Yeah.
that's I think what Eddie's point was, because Eddie's pretty smart, and I know he's smart, and I love Eddie. And I think that's why he said it, because I forgot to mention him before, because he had brought up that we will all have our own subjective experience of a spirit, yet you can tell if it's a valid experience because there will be something that is, I don't mean just one thing we'll agree on. I mean, there's something fundamental to the spirit we'll agree on. And that's why he asked what's King Paimon's, because I think we all identified gold. Why? Well, because we've all experienced the real King Paimon, I believe. And we all key in on that crown or on that solar deity element or something that makes us remember that. So it's archetypal is what I'm getting at. It's an archetype. You can't get around it. It's like a thief always steals shit, right? So we can all say that our thief is Robin Hood, or our thief is Alibaba, or our thief, but they all steal something. So we agree, it's the same character, right? Just with a different mask on. And I think that's I hope that's what he's doing. Otherwise, I'm making Eddie out to be something he's not.
He might have just been setting himself up for a joke, because the band himself says, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
Eddie, get out. Get out. Out now, Eddie. You are discommunicated from my inner circle. I'll still play with you at D&D on Friday, but damn you, I hate you.
He says, actually, I was just trying to get a rant going about theism and stupid questions.
Damn it, Eddie. I'll grab your cans when you pay me.
Fuck. You were getting paid? I did it for free.
Oh. Well, I know you like to grab cans, so.
Just shut your face.
Who doesn't like to grab cans? I mean, damn.
You're saying nothing that isn't true, but the fact that you're saying it, I don't like.
You know how we do. You knew what this was.
So we've got a question from Jasonius again, who asks, which pathworking did you find internal alchemy the most challenging? I think he meant in internal alchemy.
Oh, I'm not sure. That might be more for Connor, because I haven't done that specifically by that word. So unless he just means in a broad sense of self-transformation.
I mean, to me, I think all alchemy is both, well, unless you're completely internalizing it, even external alchemy, we can see that is somewhat a metaphor for internal change. Like changing base lead into gold, that's a transformation of something finite becoming more infinite or something greater, or poison into a nectar, however you want to look at it like that. I would say my alchemical journeys are mostly focused on transmuting things that I deem negative or restrictive or limiting, or anything that is sort of in the way, any negative correlations. Like, for example, I had things like anxiety, I had things like CPTSD, depression, so many issues that were plaguing me when I was very, very young, that it was becoming such an issue. And instead of seeing that as an issue or viewing that as an issue, having that ability to transmute those things into even more positive facets of my life or self, or to empower it. I suppose you could look at this as shadow work, but once again, it all depends on how you're doing the alchemical process. If it's purely based in alchemy, I would say, I don't really know. I would say transmuting most of my childhood trauma into teachable lessons more than anything else. Instead of viewing them as something that's traumatic, something that I need to get over, or something that is fearful, I look at them and say, okay, here's what I've learned. Here's what it's made me into today. I transmute pain into something that's teachable, something that's building a better version of me. If we're going to go with that, a Gregoric version of me, of course.
It's controlling your perspective to find what you want to, in a way.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
I think alchemy is an interesting study. I've never gotten into it, so I don't want to speak on it, because it's really not, that's like, I really don't know enough about it to speak on it. Like, not as alchemy. I will say that my own understanding of reality dictates that what reality is unknowable, enigmatic, and completely ineffable. There's no way to describe it, understand it, or see it even. What we see is a secondary reflection off of the interactions. It's not the, it's all detections. It's not the actual thing. It's, a photon, for example, isn't a particle. It's a detection of light. And we call that a photon because it's got a measurable quantity and quality to it, but it is not an object. It is a concept that tells us something has happened. And the same thing could be said for everything that we experience. It's a theoretical construct. And the issue here is this: the true reality is invisible. It has no actual properties to it. It doesn't have an actual quality to it that we would recognize. What it does is it inspires the experience of qualities and things. And this relates to alchemy because this implies that behind everything physical and everything spiritual is a source nothingness. When I say nothingness, I mean no thingness, a source chaos, a source don't say energy, don't say, it's got to be a nebulous word, it's got to be gap, it's got to be void, it's got to be something that cannot be defined, but it still projects objective qualities into our experience. So that means that, so for example, the candle flame that's over there, the thing that a candle flame actually is not the light, it's not the heat, it's not the smoke, it's not the flame. Actual candle flame is completely invisible, unknowable, and unexperienceable in the mortal way that we understand it. So I can, theoretically, channel the true nature of fire through my hand, through my body, into another object, and properly channel that true essence of fire without lighting a fire. Like, it won't necessarily turn into what I see, because that's not fire. That is the signs of fire. But fire doesn't just have that one sign, right? This is why you have the 4 cardinal elements, and they are thought to not be, they are represented by that. For example, fire is represented by that, but it's also represented by life, by just all kinds of shit. And this fire, this flame, isn't the genuine article. This is not it, but this is a projection of it. So from an alchemical perspective, this is why you can have an object has an element of the sun in it, or the element of this and that you could theoretically combine them and get a new projection. This is how you could theoretically, whether it be literal or metaphorically, transmute lead into gold. Potentially even literally would be maybe what they meant, but they couldn't figure out the proper combination of stuff. And like I said, I'm not an alchemist. I know that there's internal alchemy, external alchemy, metaphorical and literal. There's always different interpretations. That's why I said I don't touch it, because to me that's, I'm too zen, laid back, non-dual to give a shit about that. Like, to me that's too material. I'm not worried about it. That's a cool study. It gave us modern chemistry. It gave us a lot of cool shit, but I'm not into it personally. So if that's what you guys are into, please educate me. But yeah, I see we got a super chat from some strange people here.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit backlogged here. So we have 3 to get to. One from Spirit X Diesel, who gave us a tip and a sliding pair emoji. So thank you very much for that, man. Spirit.
Thank you, Spirit X Diesel. I don't think he ever or she ever asks a question. They always just give us a sliding pair.
Yeah, you deserve questions. Like, if you have one, Spirit, that you want to ask, just tag me with it, and I'll throw that in on top of your super chat.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Well, it's like Jay Sauber. Like, Jay Sauber is always like really generous and cool, and it's like I have to find new ways to say thank you. It's like I don't like it's become like whenever I see him, I just want to say thank you, even if he hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah, we need to get like a little splash screen or something. Jay Sauber donates enough that it's just like let's get that on there for him. So we have another question from Sidina Whisperwind. Says, good evening, Thorne. I have a question for Connor. Do you have a book out? I got in kind of late and forgot to switch my account. It's Dawn.
Yeah, let's plug him a little bit. What do you have, Mr. Connor? I'm a very bad host when it comes to that.
Sounds like Dawn is inviting us for the plug our crap segment.
Yeah, and I think that's Sidina, if I had to guess. Sidina Whisperwind.
I feel like you're right. My IQ drops by like 20 points when I'm on camera.
Why? Mine apparently inflates by 20 points. I think I'm way smarter than I am all of a sudden. I don't know.
Yeah, so I got 2 books out there. So I did about 5 contributions for the 9 Demonic Gatekeeper compendiums, and essentially I'm in 5 of those, from Lucifer to Beelzebub, Asmodeus, and Baal and Satan. So I'm in all of those, and essentially we created a combined text for that known as the Devil's Idol. So if you want to check out some of my work with the demonic gatekeepers, you can check that out, the Devil's Idol. And also I have a book out on necromancy, death magic, and the death current itself, known as the Necromancer, Path of the Descended Masters.
Now that's all on Balg. That's all on Balg.co. You can find that there, or is it somewhere else?
Yeah, I think you can find it on Balg. Well, they're all through Balg. I'm pretty sure you can find them on Amazon and Etsy too.
Okay. Do you have anything to self-publish, or anything else that you do, or any other? Do you do ritual work? What do you do otherwise?
I do a lot of ritual for hire, mentorship, consultations, and things of that nature. I mean, at the moment, I'm working on a new book. However, just getting around to finally publishing this thing is a bit of a pain in the ass because it's huge. I've been writing this book now for a couple of years, so yeah, a couple of years in works.
Yeah, I mean, I like working with Amazon for publishing. It was pretty easy to figure out. So if that's who you're going through, that's pretty easy. Lulu, I hear, is fairly simple too, but not maybe as user-friendly as Amazon was, I guess. I don't know. But I think it's a pleasure, especially when you get your first copy of your first book that's yours. Like that's your book, like to proofread. It's like, oh, that's a great feeling. Like when I did that, I was like, man, I don't care if I ever sell a bunch of copies. I got my first book printed, man, even if it's not going to sell. The fact that it sold was awesome, but I mean, it's like, whoa. So
yeah, I remember you just getting that, just being like, woo!
Yeah, the football player, woo! I can't even do it, but you know, hell yeah. So I hope you get that feeling, dude. It's a great fucking feeling, and I hope you do it. When you do it, let us know. Like we'll put you on. We'll let you do the book tour. You know what I mean? Get your name out, especially with your own stuff.
And somebody was asking if we could share the cover of that so they know what it looks like. And here is the Necromancer.
Awesome, yeah.
And we had another super chat from Yepson with that 666 says, question for Connor. How does one wear both a denim shirt and a bandana and manage to not look like a hick? What's your top advice for fashion?
I mean, I didn't want to be a D-bag, but you ever see, oh shit, fuck, it came out a few years ago. I'm going to fuck it up. Connor just talk. I'm just going to look it up. Streets of Rogue. I think it was Streets of, no, that's a game. Fuck, just talk. No, ignore me. I had a brain fart. It was a really big one. It made a big stink.
You dig yourself out of this hole.
I will, but I got to think of it. Oh,
You're on the spot. You like putting other people on the spot. Now you get to be on it.
The movie, it's like a short half-hour movie, and it starts with the dude on the couch with his girlfriend. He's like, yeah, babe, that's my bicep. What the fuck was that? Oh, my God. Kung Fury, was that it? No. Was that it?
Kung Fury was a half-hour movie, but
that was it.
I don't remember that scene, and I don't know if anybody has ever watched the movie you were describing.
I love Kung Fury. I watched it.
Kung Fury was great as a trailer.
Well, it's a good movie. I'm gonna put the link in the chat, and you can all correct me if I'm wrong. But it's like, I know he's not going for it. It's not. I think it's a cool look, honestly. I'm putting fuck it. I'm putting it in the chat. Here, we'll find it. I meant that in a nice way. I know someone's gonna take it the wrong way, but I meant it in a nice way. I did. I really did.
Yeah,
I believe you.
You know, it must just be natural talent. You know, it's kind of hard to really this up, I suppose. I don't know.
Like that'd be like somebody saying, like, Thorne, how can you look like an asshole but still cool at the same time? I don't know, but I do it. I don't know.
Natural talent.
I was literally wearing my birthday suit, absolutely nothing. Earlier, I did like kind of a ritual. I was completely in the nude, and then you messaged me. You were like, "Hey, do you want to jump on?" I was like, "Yeah, maybe I should find some different attire first." I just grabbed the nearest thing to me.
Are you birthday below the belt right now? Not that I want to know, but I'm sure some people would want to know.
I hope you say yes, just so that I'm not alone.
Well, Flesh, we know that you are always like half naked somewhere. Sometimes it's the left half, but it's, you know.
Yeah, I'm naked under these clothes.
I mean, that is such a 90s joke.
Shut up. It's not that long ago.
These dudes are so cornball. I love it. He's like, these dudes are so cornball. Oh my God.
So on to a more on-topic question. Wyatt Coverdale asks, do you know of any efficient ways to clear away energy pollution or blockages? It's becoming harder and harder for me to project to project and vampirize energy. It's very bothersome.
I'm gonna let you guys go first. I do have answers for that, but I think that I'm not gonna say it's a Google question. You know, I'm not gonna be flippant about it, because there is a lot of potential ways to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was just thinking. I mean, there are many ways. I mean, I can kind of give one of my favorite ways to do it, I guess. And I'm a big fan of spiritual bathing. Like I just like it in general. So I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of energy work, and I do a lot of all of that stuff in my spiritual bathing. You can put things in there, for example, like blockbuster powder, like road opener powder, or herbs that have, or spell powders or oils that have literal qualities to remove blockages, to remove limitations, to remove restrictions. I mean, some good pranayama is great as well. It depends upon the blockage, I guess, because, you get some energy blockages just because how you've been working with energy. But sometimes, and a lot of the times, you can have energy blockages from how you're feeling emotionally, how you're feeling mentally. I've even met some people who have had like literally terrible diets, and they've come off some very hardcore drugs or substances, and they just can't do magic the same as they used to be able to. So once you sort of like sort out the mundane crap, and then you can do some of the spiritual crap too. It all depends on what nature the blockage is.
That's true. And it's also like, if we're talking about environmental energies, I mean, clean your room. I know some people hate Jordan Peterson, but I don't know why. I guess they do. Clean your fucking room is absolutely.
I can't think of any reasons why anybody would detest Peterson.
I actually don't detest him. I love him, but I know you hate him. I'm not sure why. I'm not saying everything I agree with.
It certainly has nothing to do with his idea of trans people.
Well, that could of course offend, but that doesn't mean that he's wrong about everything. And no,
it just means that he's rather detestable.
I mean, it depends. I mean, it really depends on the intent we say, right? Don't we care about intent? But I'm not there. I don't know. But hey, if that's each to each his own. But cleaning your fucking room is a good piece of advice if you have a dirty ass room. And I'm a slob, by the way.
That's a fucking ritual of cleansing.
Right. I mean, cleansing is important. And honestly, there's a lot of different ways that you can cleanse the energy of your environment that don't necessarily destroy the energy. Like, one of the things you have to realize is that it's not necessarily a good thing to purify, right? You don't necessarily want to, like, everything out and pure, like, you're not trying to bleach the universe, right? What you really want to do is, like Connor was saying, gross energy in your environment is more like a blockage than it is like, it's more like having a dam in a river than it is having junk energy around. Whatever is going on is there's spiritual clutter, and spiritual clutter is usually because you've got too much going on psychically, spiritually, psycho-spiritually, mentally. There's too many things that are impeding you from flowing from natural state to natural state. And you'll feel that as dirty energy in your environment. And I know this because I live like a slob, and when I clean my space, I feel just such a weight. And it's psychiatrically proven that living in a clean space is better for your psyche. And psyche, of course, once meant spirit, by the way. It's better for you to not just because it's cleanliness. So if you've got a problem, clean your room. And by clean your room, I don't just mean tidy it. I mean, do you have open sigils around? Do you have rituals halfway done? Do you have candles that are half burnt? Do you have old incense shit sitting around? Do you have offerings you didn't dispose of? What do you have going on? Did you have a fight with your family and not open a window or something? And I mean that literally and figuratively. Opening a window, like open an east-west window, right? Something like that. Open a north-south window. Get that flow to happen. Get the flow to go through. Look up a feng shui book and figure it out.
I like what Asarte says, puts, I think, what you're getting at in a really nice sentence-long synopsis. To Wyatt, what if you ask yourself what is happening with the container rather than the energy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like is it clogged? Is that why? What's the best way to clear a stink out of your house? Open all the windows and let it blow through, right? That's the best. So what you're really talking about is not how to remove the gross, it's how to let the gross out, how to let it flow. And that the lack of flow is what makes it stagnant and suck. And so there's a lot of things you can do. Just off the top of my head, another good example would be take a quartz and an obsidian crystal and put the pure quartz, you know, there's probably a lot of ways you could do this. Put the pure quartz on one end of the house that you would exit from, and the obsidian from maybe somewhere where you're trying to draw it from, and try to project it out through, right? That's just an example. Or you could just use obsidian, because the reason you use obsidian or any other black stone is that black is a color that absorbs energy, period, of all different kinds. So it tends to be protective, it tends to suck up negativity, sucks up all energy really, but it can suck up negativity a lot. And then you can cleanse that somewhere else. You can purify it. That can help if you want to get all crystally about stuff. You can do rituals. You can ask for a spirit to bless and cleanse your house. But don't forget, everything really needs Eddie says, air the balls out of your mind. DH Thorne, probably, yes. You've got to remember that magic is not strictly material or spiritual. It's both, always. You know, real magic is always mind, body, and spirit acting in harmony as one towards alignment with your truest will. So whether that causes a manifestation or not. So you want to do something mental, something physical, and something spiritual. And that can mean you do something like posing with yoga or using crystals or opening a window and cleaning your room. It means doing something mental, getting your mind off whatever it is, or doing something productive with your mind, and something spiritual, which is more difficult to describe, but it could be something with a celestial being, something with an infernal being, something theistic, theurgic, or just cleansing spiritually, like, you know, using yogic methods or something, or meditation, for example. So try to do it all together. Of course, in my book, Become the Maelstrom, there is the align and clear ritual, but that's just something that you can use.
You know, something that I do a lot, and I do this every single month without fail, is I go to, literally in my bedroom, I have a Santa Muerte altar. I have 2 altars for it, and I go there, I take all of the offerings I need to dispose of, I take them off, I actually take all the coverings off, I take statue by statue by statue. It's a very long process, and you have to be patient with it. And the whole practice of this is to try to not rush it. Don't try to be frustrated, take your time with it, and just enjoy the process. And as you take off each idol, I'll then take off each of the coverings. I'll wash the coverings, wash down the actual altar itself. Then I'll spiritually cleanse each idol. Then I'll place it all back on. I'll do regular cleansing throughout the environment. I mean, this is just me, what I do. Like, I use Florida water. I'll use, I'll use sage or copal incense. I do a variety of different things. And once I do that, like you said, I open up the windows. I go downstairs, I do my physical cleaning. And then I just go through the house with some incense, or I might do a ritual, the final banishment of unwanted energies. But yeah, leaving the window open, doing something physical, doing something mental, and doing something spiritual is always important. I always tell people that if you do just a ritual and you sit on your ass like that and you just cross your hands and you look around waiting for shit to happen, it never happens. You know, there's a reason to say body, mind, and soul. There's a reason why all of these things need to be aligned to a ritual or aligned to your magic.
As receptive as you want to be, you also have to be assertive. You have to create the body of the spirit in your mind's eye as much as you have to be receptive to it. You have to imagine it over there and then let it act. And it's difficult at first. And the same thing applies for cleansing. You have to know it's clean. Even if every logical thing would say maybe it's not, you have to, because whether you think that you are bending reality to your will or that you are going to where that reality exists in the timelines of the multiverse, whichever version of magic you believe in, the only way that happens is by aligning with that thing that you're trying to do and knowing it to be true. And without being self-deceptive, which, you know, I often challenge people, change your beliefs. I don't know anybody who can change their beliefs on purpose. I think that's such a strange thing. Like, if you believe hard enough, like, yeah, okay. We confuse repetition and focus for belief, I think. I think a lot of people, I believe, and no, that's not belief. Belief is something you can't do on purpose. It just happens. But you have to, but that you can fake it till you make it is true. You can absolutely fake it till you make it. You can, the more you act like it's clean, the more you will accept that it's clean. The more you role play that it's clean, the more it will become clean. But again, I think that we've beat it to death, but do something physical too. I think we all agree on that. Whatever your spiritual answer is, you got to do something physical with it. Like, I'm looking around me right now, I'm like, you know what I really want to do more than anything? I live in a very small cottage. I want to hire a team of people for a day, and I just want to, maybe a week, and just go through the house like a whirlwind and throw half of it out and start over with like a Zen, beginning, and have a ritual room that's set up beautifully and just start over. Like, I basically just want to, like, defrag my hard drive. Like, I just want to start over. It's gross in here, man. I got to do a lot of cleaning.
You guys got a lot.
We do. We only have like a 600, 700 square foot cottage with no storage. So it's like everything we own is somewhere in the room. Like, it's like, we have to, and we don't own that much. Like, if we had a normal house, it probably would be
you're going to find
empty.
Weapons that you forgot you had.
I don't want to say
I don't know how you're not stubbing your toes on fucking guns and shit.
Dude, you know me. I can't even reach over without grabbing something. It's like one.
I know. I've streamed with you. It comes out on stream.
Like, I pity the fool who breaks into my house right now. I don't even have to go to the gun. It's just like, I got more. It's not even paranoia. It's just, I love it. I love it. It's messed up. Like, if you told me, like, Thorne, the apocalypse is here, pick one, I'd be like, I don't know. They're all so good. Do you want one?
You're like, oh fuck, I just lost his name. The guest we had on last week. Fuck.
I was gonna say the guy from Tremors. The guy with the basement with all the guns and Tremors.
Oh, I mean, also yes.
Bert,
Sunchild,
Bert.
Right? I'm not forgetting.
Bert something or other.
No, I know that, but our guest last week.
Susan's got me. She says, ooh, incriminating confession noted. Damn it, woke Jicky.
It's Sunchild Tarot, right?
Oh yeah, Sunchild. Yeah, he's got like all the tarot, and I've got all the weapons.
It's like the way I imagine him with the tarot, to just, oh, which one am I gonna use today? I love them all so much. Okay, everybody, pick me. Oh, I guess it's got to be this deck today. You'd be that way with fucking weapons.
Pretty much. I mean, there's a couple that I just put in the closet because I don't care about them, but.
Also, I'm so sorry, Sunchild. I loved you and I loved having you on. Like I said, my IQ drops by like 20 points. I can't believe I forgot his name.
Maybe it's the lighting in your room. Like, usually it's like a bright purple and it's not right now. Maybe that's what it is.
That's what it is. It's my energy is being thrown off.
Yeah, that's got to be what it is.
Yeah, I'll take the excuse. There we go. I also wanted to point out Dice Controller 187 made a comment earlier. Hey, Kendall, thanks for your work on writing a book about working with Santa Muerte. That is not traditional. I wanted to bring that up because I know you were talking about Santa Muerte.
Yeah, Connor, do you get any hate from the Witch Talk kind of crowd for your different takes on things? I know you mentioned you have a TikTok or something, I think, and I refuse to set foot on TikTok because I feel like I know a badass, but I feel like that is like the gutter of the gutter, but maybe it's just me thinking that. Did you get a lot of flack from people? Because I know that there's like a pretty judgmental community out there on TikTok.
Yeah, especially in the beginning. I did in the beginning. During the whole cultural appropriation phase on TikTok.
Oh, if you wokeness
being that wasn't from almost like your fucking postcode or your zip code, it was as if you were the biggest racist in the world. No, I think I had like some of the strangest comments in the beginning. Someone called me a colonizer. Someone called me a racist. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
The shit, dude.
I know, and this was because I was working with entities that were part of, obviously not my culture, and they were like, this is a closed practice, that's a closed practice, everything is a fucking closed practice, and the way I used to put it across was culture is to be celebrated and shared, not to be denied or hidden off or closed off to people. And me, I think of these entities like a lot like DH does, and a lot like majority of the people here, they're entities, they're not necessarily caring about culture or things of that nature. I understand this, like the cultural significance most definitely, But there's a lot of bullshit on TikTok. There really is, as everyone knows. But there are a few decent places in TikTok, and it just takes a bit of a shoveling through. Once you get past all the bullshit, like cursing the Fae or cursing the moon or cultural appropriation or all of that shit, once you get past all that, you get to some decent people and you get to some good actual quality content.
I got to hand it to VK because, I mean, I think once upon a time I didn't consider him bad or good, but, you know, I got to know him a little bit better because of some of the drama in the community, and I watched his recent video collection of his TikTok stuff. I'm like, yeah, most of that's pretty damn good stuff. It's short, it's to the point. You know, I definitely don't agree with him on everything, but dude, he's definitely one of the better ones, and I appreciate him. I should get him on one of these days, but we have some similar qualities. I wonder how we would do chemistry wise. He might be really fucking awesome to have on. Maybe I'll see if he wants to. But you know, quite honestly, like TikTok, like, I guess I like to fight, but I think my problem is I like to fight too much, and I think I would end up arguing with all these people, and it wouldn't be pretty. I think it would be really gross, and I've been learning, like, my shadow is to try to, like, rise above the stupid petty shit, and I do a pretty good job of it considering how much flack I get. But at the same time, I think I'd end up fighting with all these people. I think it would turn out to be ugly all the time, because you guys all know my positions politically and woke wise and all that. And I'm just not, that's not my home. That'd be like me going to Twitter. And
I don't think you can interface with TikTok to begin with, because there's a 60-second limit on videos.
By the time I even finish the introduction,
some short ones, so
I've tried, but that's all I could do.
You can get up to 3 minutes now on TikTok. Like they have different settings now where I think if you reach a certain amount of followers or something like that, you can up it to like 3 minutes. I'd be done with
the introduction at that point, yeah.
The whole thing about controversy and rising above those idiots, that was the difficult thing for me in the beginning, because you can answer any comment with a video, and it was so quick and so easy to do. So every time I would have some bullshit just be commented, I'm not the type of person to just leave it go, especially back then. So I would answer everything, but then I would realize if I'm going to keep doing this at the magnitude that it's at now, I'm going to constantly have the phone glued to my hand. Mm-hmm. But I don't do that anymore. My followings increased significantly now over the months, and I've actually got a good audience now, you know, so it's no woke bullshit, there's no controversy, no cultural appropriation. No one's come after me with pitchforks or torches yet.
Good. Maybe I'll dip my little toe into it and see what it's like. I know it seems to be easier to get lots of followings than on YouTube, because YouTube throttles everything the minute you get too edgy or too political, and you get ridiculous. That's why I'm using BitChute more. Speaking of which, there will be a video if you are a fan of my channel at all, or if you're new here and you're subbing here, if you've already subbed to me or whatever, make sure you go into the description of this video, click the link tree, and follow me on BitChute and Odyssey, because tomorrow I've got an exclusive video coming out on BitChute. It's not going to be coming out on YouTube. I'm going to be doing this more and more. I want to get you guys here, and then I basically want to catch you here and then release you into the alt tech community, because fuck the censorship, fuck all the politicization of every goddamn thing on the planet on these platforms. Enough is enough. We've got to, you know, start. Shut up, Susan. I don't give a fuck. Delete my channel. We got to start exploring alt tech and all these things more, so that YouTube will either have to fix itself or be replaced, and stop being predatory against small creators and turning into basically Netflix for you know, other people. Like it stopped being YouTube and now it's ThemTube, and I don't like it, you know, and I use it because it's all I got.
So TikTok's very much like that too when it comes to censorship. I had my account banned numerous times, and I actually deleted my account. Like literally, you couldn't find it. You couldn't find any videos, any trace of me for like a couple of days. And the issue on there is if something gets reported, it gets taken off of it. So it can literally be taken down, and then you have to appeal it just to bring it back. That's the only pain in the ass right now. I think TikTok's got to work on just the fact of if you can report something, it can be taken down so easily.
And I really hate it. I mean, I do. I mean, I miss the old bulletin board days. I'd rather be a nobody and be famous on a small bulletin board of 200 people. That's why I like Discord. I mean, it's so much more like the old days. And, you know, I feel like it's the 90s all over again. It's great. Star217 says, DH, ever thought about doing a cult video with Styx? If you got his number, turn him on to me. I'd love to hang out with the dude. I'm sure we'd argue about some things, but I think he's so chill. I think we could disagree and it'd be fun as fuck. So
I'll
I
make
would
him
love to
feel
have him on.
welcome. I'll like take my shirt off. I'll go get my cow.
Right? I'll do
I'll
it
wear
too.
the leather
like
jacket.
we'll all do it. Yeah. I mean, I know that he'll
Uh,
trigger some timbers around here, but I think that a lot of you guys like him and I love him. And, you know, I think he's such an open-minded dude. I would love to have him on. If you got him and Damian Eccles, I would love, those would
Oh,
be
fuck
like,
yeah.
like that would just be, ugh. And I don't agree necessarily with everything Damian says, just like Connor, just like EA. I love you guys. I love that you're out here putting out your stuff. And I'm not the only one, and you guys are fucking fascinating when you put stuff out, and I love that shit. So please, and JoJo Blair, I just saw that 999. She gave us JoJo. I don't know if it's a girl or a guy, but if I'm misgendering you, forgive me. Best guess ever.
Oh,
I've been
yes.
hoping for this one for a long, and I guess they ran out of money, so they didn't say time. For a long, they've been really hoping for this. We appreciate you, JoJo. Thank you.
Yeah, I was telling DH, you've been kind of one of my white whales. Like, I'm happy to get you on because you're one of the people that I've wanted to get on for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, you know, I always enjoy jumping on these streams, especially with people like they said, you know, where you have different viewpoints and things or different opinions. I actually don't want to sit down with somebody who's like me. Like, it just becomes boring. It just becomes yes, yes, yes all the way through. Like,
Yeah,
even me and
nothing's gained.
even me and a serial, we agree on so many things, but we disagree on so many things too. You know, so that's one of the great things. I think everyone in this community, you got your own style, your own flavor, your own perspective, your own uniqueness. And when you bring all these people together to collaborate, debate, to talk, it's always interesting.
Mm-hmm. You got to be iron sharpens iron, and if you can't stand on your own a little bit, then you really just waving dicks at one another. Nothing's gained at the
There's
end of the day.
nothing wrong with waving dicks at one another. My goodness.
I know.
thought
You don't
of
have to
all
tell
people-
me. Well, you can wave them all you want, but I mean, there is something
It's only
wrong
when
with
they
that if you
collide
don't
that
do
you
anything
got-
more with that.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it's when they collide that you got to start sending emails around and say sorry.
you know, I feel like you guys, for as much as I talk shit about TikTok, not to wrap back too much, but I feel like there's been a lot of bad experiences. I have one video up on TikTok, and it's me in a very strange outfit talking programming with somebody when I didn't realize I was being recorded, and there's been nothing but positive feedback. You guys just got to be weird or something.
I don't know, man. Maybe, I don't know. I think that, you know what it is, and maybe I should do a whole other video or stream about this, but I think it's pretty well understood that there's a victim mentality culture that's out there, and you don't score points by being cool and laid back. You score points by being angry about something. And that, unfortunately, is a self-feeding fire because everybody's so immature right now. The internet's new. People haven't learned how to respect one another and everybody's truth and all that shit. And instead of just agreeing to disagree, everybody's on a crusade to destroy what they don't like. And this turns into a rabble, into a mob, and this becomes gross right away. And the powers that be like that because it's good for attention. People, just like Jerry Springer, people love watching drama. And this is why my videos that talk about drama have like 4 times the watch rate than the ones where I'm telling you the secrets of the fucking universe.
I've seen the analytics.
So yeah, you have access to it. That's right. I forget. You can actually see all that shit if you wanted to, even if I don't show it to you. So when I tell people, like, I can spot when my views go up and when they go down and why, I can pinpoint the video sometimes that gets me, you know, shadow banned or the one that everybody likes. And it's never my best work that people like. I know that sounds bitter and bitchy, and I know I'm an entertainer, so I should just do what you guys want. But for fuck's sake, guys, I mean, like, so I'm telling you, like you don't get points for doing good work. You get points for being a dick. And if you can be a dick in a way that everybody approves of, if you can bully people in a highbrow moralistic way, you get the most points, the most attention, and that's a self-feeding fire, and it's disgusting. And I see this everywhere. And the left-hand path should turn away from that. And I hate to sound religious like I'm a preacher telling you what to do, but left-hand path spirituality should look at that and be like, what the fuck's wrong with all of you? This isn't for me. I mean, do what makes you powerful, of course, but I don't think that makes you powerful. I think that makes you weak. I think that makes you weak as fuck. And the powers that be love it. They love the drama. Look, Facebook is algorithmically designed so that if there's a controversy and they know your take on they know your political leaning, for example, they know that you're a Trump tart or a Biden fool or whatever the fuck you are. If they know that you feel strongly about it, they'll make sure that if you've got friends on your friends list that strongly disagree with you, if there's a big controversy, they will make sure that those disagreeing things will show up more in your feed than the ones you agree with, because agreeing gets a like, a disagreement gets a 50-page fucking argument going. So they make sure that the arguments get the play. And this happens on every platform, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, everything, because it gets more eyeballs on more screens more often for longer. Why wouldn't they push that shit? And that's why all of this social media stuff that's mainstream is toxic as fucking hell. And why we all feel, tell me, how many of you guys in the goddamn comments love social media and feel like it's the greatest thing and you love using it? How many of you have like a total love-hate relationship where you're just like, fuck this shit, I don't want to use it, but I have to, or that's where all my friends are? How many of you guys actually like it versus feel like you have to use it? I'll bet you by a show of hands, we'll show that we're all basically addicts to garbage. And that includes me. If you guys weren't on there, I wouldn't be on there. So what do we do about it? Connor, do you have a solution? I don't know.
I mean, I really don't. You know, I will go even further. You know, it's not just social media; it's media in general.
Mm-hmm.
You know, any form of it. I actually done creative media in university and college, and I worked with many people. Many of my tutors were freelancers for the BBC, and I had an apprenticeship with the BBC. And some of the shit they were telling me and some of the shit they were saying that was best to do was insane. You know, basically anything you can think that's going to shock, offend, or just get a gut reaction out of somebody, do it. And half of the things that people think is real, it's not real, it's crap. Here's how we make it look realistic. Here's how we do this. Here's how we do that. I was like, oh, okay. So basically everything's scripted, literally everything. And it's scripted not to get a positive reaction or to be educational or just to be entertaining. Is scripted just to get you to watch more. You want to know more, you want to interact with it, or you feel so offended or you feel so triggered by it that you cannot shut your mouth and you just have to engage. And through that level of engagement, of course, increases the popularity.
Hey,
and of course, some issues are important. Sorry, Fleshy, go ahead.
You know, for those of you watching, just in the future when EA is vindicated, just come back and splice some of this in with the vindication montage.
And if you don't know, EA has told me, I don't know when it's going to happen, but apparently his channel is going to be getting reinstated. Let's keep our fingers crossed that Susan Wojcicki fucking gets her head out of her ass. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate you being here, by the way. Gets your head out of your ass and gets EA reinstated, because, you know, that was bullshit. And I mean, whether you love the guy or hate him, I don't care if you hate his ass from front to back and every other direction. There was a time I didn't care for him either till I got to know him, and I'm like, fuck, this guy's awesome. I totally get it, okay? But this is a freedom of speech issue more than anything. The guy did nothing wrong on the platform whatsoever. So the fact that he was removed clearly is a violation of what I would think ethical practices. I'm sure, yes, YouTube's a private company, can do whatever it wants, but fuck you guys. Like, that's not right. We need to stop feeding this monster. We need to stop feeding the wood chipper and acting like, you know, it's okay when it sucks, because it really isn't, you know. So show him your support. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled. I will announce it if it comes back up. I'm sure you'll notice it because you'll probably get notifications if you're already subbed to him. And I hope he's right. I hope it comes back up because this is bullshit. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you're right, Connor. And it is, if you haven't seen the movie, what is it? Oh shit. Come on, brain. There's a movie from the 70s.
God, you and media are not
I'm not doing
good bedfellows tonight.
Network? Is that what it was? Network? I think it was Network. Googling it. Yeah, Network. You know, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. If you haven't seen Network, that movie basically predicted right now. It basically predicted the current year very clearly. And it's a very good movie. I recommend that you all watch it. If you really want to understand the spirit of what's wrong with our media right now, that's 80% of it. The other 20% is the fact that not too long ago, the Smith-Mundt Act expired and the government is now allowed to basically propagandize you through the mainstream as much as it wants. Elements of the government, will say, are allowed to do that, and they're no longer required to admit it. So once upon a time, they at least had to tell you when it was, you know, questionable. Now it's off the chain, and this is why I jokingly say that our mainstream media now is basically Baghdad Bob on every channel. If you don't know who Baghdad Bob is, look him up. It's basically Baghdad Bob on every channel. And I really pity anybody who gets in a debate with me and uses any mainstream source. I'm not saying that they don't have facts, and I'm just saying if you get your opinions from that stuff, then you're fucked. You're totally fucked. And I'm not even sure where you should get them from. I think that's the point. If you think that you should get them from any one specific one, you're probably fucked.
Received this wisdom from a dream.
You know, at this point, I would trust that person more than I would trust CNN, NBC, Fox, ABC, MSNBC. I would trust that person more. The guy who said they got it from a dream than any of those fuckers. BBC in particular, they're one of the worst. So, correct me if I'm wrong, Connor. I don't know what your opinion on all this stuff is, but you got an inside tip there, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's some of the worst stuff. I mean, when I was doing media, I was enjoying it, you know, because it was something creative. It was a creative process in there, and I enjoyed that. But when I got into things like journalism, when I got into some of the media, and I got into how it's all constructed and how everything has to be processed and looked at first before it can be presented, you can't do anything individually. You know, even as a freelancer, you have to shut the fuck up and listen and do what you're told. And I think after doing all of that, I couldn't look at media the same again. That's actually the very words my tutor first told me when I was a teenager. He said, once you finish this class, we don't know what you're going to do next year or the year after that, or maybe you're going to do another level, but you're never going to be able to consume media again the same way. You're never going to be able to watch something again, read it again. You're just never going to look at it again the same way. And I felt actually physically disgusted after it, to the point where I turned down an apprenticeship at the BBC.
And I got to tell you, like, being someone who gets what's going on with that, especially I understand propaganda intuitively. I never got taught it, but I understand intuitively. I can detect it like other people can detect a fart. Like it makes me sick instantly when I recognize it. I feel like, why are you fucking lying to me? And it's gotten to the point now where I can't consume content that's current without feeling gross on most. Like, you can ask my wife, like, we'll watch a movie and I'll be like, oh, thank God this didn't have any of it. It's so rare because most things have a whiff of it in it. Don't get me wrong, there's always social engineering, and but art is part of the thing of art, right? We're supposed to be talking about current events and things, but when it's so blatantly badly done, and they're using neurolinguistic programming techniques and all this other shit to fuck your brain up and trick you into thinking a certain way, and most people don't see it. That's why they think we sound crazy when we say this stuff. They don't see it. So they're like, what the hell are you talking about? It's just like in the movie They Live. It's like, you haven't put the glasses on yet, you don't know what I see, but I see it very, very clearly. It's not, I wish I could point it out to people, and I do, and they still don't get it. But it's so embedded in our stuff. And I'll watch something from like the 90s or the 80s or the 70s, which almost has none or very little, or it's much more artfully inserted. Like, I'm watching fucking Black Adder tonight, and I'm like, oh, this just feels so good. They're not preaching at me about anything political or social. It's just comedy. It's just good, funny. Yeah, they're making fun of everybody. This is fucking great. And we can't have that anymore. And it's gotten so that there's literally no place to go that just is there for the purpose of entertainment or to enlighten your mind or something like that. It's all got to be about directing you towards what they want you to do, think, buy, say, and everything else. And as a black magician, that's part and parcel of my life. That's part and parcel of how I do things. I know people like to think that magic is all bibbity bobbity, but there's a lot of psychiatric stuff involved too, if you're doing it right. A big half of making magic work is convincing yourself and others that it will work. And so there's an element of manipulation, even if it's benevolent, going on in all cases. It's not always benevolent, by the way. I mean, this is why even charlatans get a pass on some levels with what they do, because I go, that doesn't mean that they're not telling the truth, or doesn't mean that, you know, there's still power there, even in a charlatan. So my point here is, I can usually judge if someone's really good and spiritual by how much of this they recognize is wrong, how much they recognize they're being lied to, and what their biases are, you know. And I know that sounds unfair, it sounds judgmental, and I don't want to be that guy, but, and I know someone's going to say the same thing in inverse, say, well, Soren, you sound like you got a bias. I do, but my bias, I believe, and just like you believe, is based on identified subjective facts, right? So we're all probably wrong. But people who don't question and criticize the establishment, for example, bother me. Like, that's just like, how can you go through life and just accept what you're told? Like, I don't get that. I never could. You know, I was always the guy who was like looking at the teacher like, really? Are you sure? You know? So that's just me. Maybe I'm the bad guy. I don't know.
No, you're right. It's like you know, one of the worst things that they taught us. And I don't think he was supposed to have said it the way he did, but this guy was pretty fucking cutthroat. He said, you know, if you're going to do something like a news report, you can use certain images with certain language to make people think a certain way.
Yep.
You know, you don't say what it is. You never say. Well, in some cases, they do now. I mean, this is completely different to when I was in college. It's changed quite a bit, actually, some of the laws and some of the ways that they do things. But he said, if you're not going to say exactly what you want them to think, put an image up. You know,
right.
if you want to say something like, a terrorist today, and then they put a picture up of a Middle Eastern man. Well, a terrorist can be anybody.
Right. So you conflate it. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, they'll keep doing this with so many different images and so many things like that. I was like, okay, so what is this actually about? He's like, it's about really nothing. You're just planting ideas into people's mind. The way he put it across was we're getting them thinking. It's like it was supposed to be like art. Or you look at art and you're supposed to think.
No, because I do art. I know art. I know the difference. And it's not art when you're doing it. There's a way to do it that's benevolent. There's a way to do it where you're literally playing on the lowest common denominator of intelligence who can't recognize what's going on. And they fall for it and you brainwash them into a belief system. And that's, I know a lot of them think they're doing what's right because they've been brainwashed. They believe it and they pass this on through their art. So a lot of it's organic, yes, but it comes from something that's really bad. I mean, you and I maybe should do a solely political stream someday. Maybe we'll do it during the day because that's probably more your time, and Fleshy won't have to be there. We'll do like a pure politics stream and really get into it because you know, I'm fucking done, you know, playing nice with this stuff. I've been really last year I came out about certain things and I got trash for it, but then I found out I didn't even lose half my audience. I didn't even lose 2/3 of my audience. I didn't lose a third. I lost like maybe 10% of the people who followed me. Everybody else understood or agreed. And it's like, all right, cool. Then you know what? It's popular to want freedom, right? And that's really my big thing. Like that's my big thing is freedom. So let's get off the politics. Like here, I think Fleshy is literally like teleporting out of here right now. He's very still.
We did have a question, super chat question.
Okay, go for it.
So, and well-timed because politics. Why do we care so much? It's all just bullshit.
Because if you don't care, then the people who
I
do
gotta
care
get my
will
digs
rule you.
in. So John Stone with the super chat says, "You guys are awesome. How does one get back on track spiritually after getting derailed?"
Ooh, that's right up my alley right now. My video coming out tomorrow on BitChute is basically about that. It's not about that. It's actually like a personal diary. It's not even like, it's not a teaching moment. It's literally just me opening up to the camera, and I hope you guys like it. I think it's really deep. I showed it to EA and he's like, holy shit, this is like, I totally feel this right now. So it may resonate, but I'm going to let Connor answer that first.
What a great way to plug your BitChute.
I'm plugging it all night long, baby. In fact, let me go check and see if the subs went up. It better be up by like at least 2. Damn it.
Yeah, do you have anything to say on that, Connor?
216,
so,
what's wrong with y'all?
So I think once again, I mean, so I had a friend who years ago when I was living up in England, and we formed sort of like a coven when we were teenagers, and I was quite young, and he stopped doing magic, and his life, you know, he spiraled into drugs, this and that, and he got in trouble. And eventually he actually came out of jail not so long ago. And he wanted to get back into magic. You know, everything had derailed in his life and his spirituality, his connection, the so-called spirit. He couldn't even sit down. He couldn't even do a meditation. And essentially, you know, I described to him, what are you looking to do spiritually? Why are you looking to get back into it? And I think sometimes when you have a goal, when something's goal-oriented, that can be a big motivator. You know, so I was like, maybe create some goals for yourself. He's like, I want to feel that connection again. I was like, okay, put that as a first goal. You know, I want to start to build myself as a better individual. Okay, some internal work, do that. I want to then start, manipulating reality, spell work, get into the actual nitty gritty of it. I was like, okay, why? What are your materialistic goals? For example, you just got out of prison, so unfortunately, his housing situation right now, finances, things like that, they should be his main priority, and that's what he's focusing on. To me, I think if you're goal orientated, that's great. If it's something like just a connection to spirit again, I would really have to question on why you disconnected to it in the first place, and maybe focus on that.
I think that's a lot of that, is practice oriented. A lot of people, when they fall off the spiritual wagon, they get grounded out, right? That's a word I like to use, because like when you're grounded spiritually, that means you're not being too spiritual, right? That means that you're grounded and you're still spiritual, but you're grounded. Well, you can get grounded out where you're just like bluff and you're just too busy with your regular life and everything sucks. So you can burn out on spirituality. You can try too hard. You can go at it too hard. You can work with too many spirits and burn your psychic centers out and all that shit for a while, and you got to recover. Okay, that's true. But here's another thing that maybe people are overlooking. Again, you're not a victim of anything. Everything is done for a reason. Everything is happening because of your divine will and intent that causes the reality that you're seeing in some way, right? Somehow it manifests it. It's intentional what you're experiencing on some level, maybe not on the ego level, but on the level of your true self. So that's the first thing to maybe think about and recognize is, am I suffering something that I need to fix? Or is this something that's happening that I need to experience? Or is it both? Like, am I in this place because I need to learn how to get out of it? Or am I here because I need to be here? Now, here's the way I think you can tell. If you've got a lot of self-judgment and you feel guilt and you feel like, man, I really should be doing my magical practices, but I'm not. I feel that poison. I feel that lately too much too. And what that tells me is I have an attachment to the practices, not to what they give me, right? It's like I'm role playing and I'm like, I really wish I was playing this game, but I don't really want to play the game. I just want the other stuff. It's an addiction thing. It's it's an unhealthy obsession with it is what I'm getting at. So if you feel guilty or bad or regretful that you're not into it and you're not practicing it, then my advice to you is lean into the fact that you're not doing it. You know what? Throw it out for a while. Clean your altar off, throw it all in a box, and don't do it for 6 months on purpose. Literally say, I love you, spirits, but I'm not feeling this right now. I need a break. Put it all in a box. If they don't understand they're not your friends in the first place, they'll still be there quietly watching and waiting for your return if they understand. Finish your obligations, of course, if you made pacts that you have obligations, there's no question. But at the same time, scoop it all up, clean your room, and start over for a little while. Put it away. Like, give it up. I mean, give it up hard. Like, give it up like this shit ain't real for a month. Like, really go hard and just focus on your taxes and your job and your mundane life and be there for a little while, because that's what you need right now. That could be what it is. And you're regretting it because you have an egoistic attachment, because like D.H. Thorne the sorcerer, right? Well, I guess I'm not the sorcerer lately. I've been D.H. Thorne the politician. And then I feel like an asshole. When I realized, all right, you're D.H. Thorne first, and these other things are just things that you do. And you're not even D.H. Thorne. D.H. Thorne's a thing that you're doing, and so on. So I've got to let go of these attachments. And then the things that Connor are talking about, once you've released that attachment, once you've integrated that shadow, because it's really what it is, once you've integrated that shadow, then as the interests return, you can go back and play with the things and have a love for it again. In a way, that's what happened to me for 15 years or so. I put all this away, as I often tell you guys, in my 20s, right? I put this all away and I became a complete atheist, skeptic, everything. I hard shifted. Like, I was like, magic is everything, to fuck you. None of this is real. And I really swung hard and I burnt out so bad. A lot of bad shit happened. So I burnt out really bad and I completely turned it off. And I spent those years learning to be a rational skeptic, which is one reason why I'm a little bit dangerous in this community, because I actually know the tricks and lies too, because I've debunked a lot of this shit. So I kind of see through some of it, but then I also understand why it's still possible. And that slowly, all of those, some might say I burnt out. Well, they'd all healed up, and then I got back into it and I came back with a vengeance, because now I had both hands instead of just one, if that makes sense. And I'm lucky, but even I still get burned out from time to time, because especially lately, that's what this video tomorrow is going to be about, is that burnout and what it's really about for me. And it may not be the same for you, but you can see it happens to the best of us. EA and I were talking tonight, and he's like, dude, I totally get this. I feel, you know, that my work it's too much for the community, or it's too much for the business, or too, you know, not, I mean, he might not say it like that, but he resonated with the point.
You're paraphrasing.
Right. He resonated with that point, and big good things are coming because of that. And I think in a way, this deplatforming will ultimately be good for him, especially if he can get his thing back, or if he even really deeply maybe he doesn't want it back. You know, he's just going to get it back, and then what? You know, that's the irony. Is I know him well enough to know that this hurt him, but I wonder if on some level it will be healthy for him to not have it for a while. Because I know for me, it would feel like the end of the world if I lost my small little channel with 5,000 subs. But you know what? You can ask my wife. I get up every day and I go, I don't hate anybody particularly. I don't hate a group of people. I just hate dealing with the general public sometimes, and answering questions and making a comment and having people argue with me, and just the general toxicity of social media. And I go, well, why do I even engage with it at all? Maybe it would be better if I got deplatformed for a while. I could go live in a cabin in the woods for a month and be happy, you know? So never miss an opportunity to go back to basics, to return to the source of things, to let go of your obligations, and just do it for the love of it again. If you can't do it for the love of it, don't do it. That doesn't mean it's always, you have to have some discipline, of course. But if it's not for the love of it somewhere, then don't do it. And I had like a breakthrough, and I feel so much better. Like I started talking to Lucifer again for the first time in months. That's that, you know, to be brutally honest with you guys. So very, very important. Go ahead, Fleshy.
Well, it's like you say with the question you ask people is, if I could, you know, hypothetically prove that magic is complete bullshit, absolutely, inarguably doesn't work, all made up, would you still do it? And the people who say yes, go far with it. Just, you know, not to go against everything that you're saying, but even though it contradicts a little bit, just have fun with it. We're all victims of that pendulum of swinging back and forth between nothing is magic and everything is magic. Just feel free to put it down for a little while. Don't worry about it. And when you feel like doing it, don't try to do anything serious. Just purely have fun with it. Pick up a rock and fucking throw that rock and know this rock is magic. Do whatever the fuck pleases you at that moment. Just make it magical and you'll find your way back, I really think.
I mean, I would also put it like this, like, Connor, what's your favorite food? Don't say dick, because Fleshy, I'm just kidding.
I'm a big meat eater, so anything that's to do with me, anything like chicken or beef or anything like that.
Okay, so your favorite one, imagine your favorite chicken dish, right? Your favorite thing. Eat that shit every day for a week, let alone a month. What are you going to feel like, right? Magic is exactly like that.
Yeah, you'll get sick of it. I mean, it was like when I was working at a restaurant joint before, they were cooking literally my favorite meal. You're smelling that every single day, and after work, you're eating it too. In the end, you can't look at it ever again.
So like you, I grew up, you know, one of the careers I contemplated was being an artist. And for a while I worked early 2000s. I was a web designer, mainly in the art department. I kind of managed a small little fly-by-night art department in a flybynight.com, right? And I got paid like, you know, good fucking money for the time. Now it's like kind of like decent, but it would have been really fucking good. I was really proud of myself. And I loved it because I got to do what I loved. I got to work with art programs. I got to work with technology, and I got to act like a know-it-all, even though I never went to college. So it was really fucking great. And doing this for a year burned me out on doing graphic arts pretty much for the rest of my life. That's not to say I didn't do artwork after that, but it is to say that I stopped caring about doing it professionally because I got sick of taking orders from people and doing what they wanted and ridiculous requests for shit that I didn't want to make or that I couldn't know, I didn't know how or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you know how it is. And of course, even today, it got even worse because at one point I could charge a decent amount for art, and now it's like everyone expects art to be $20 for like a fucking ridiculous painting that's really amazing, right? And nobody wants to pay what it's worth. So art burned out on me, and I refused to do art anymore. In fact, I have really good art programs, and you guys have seen me do art. I'm not bad. I'm not as good as maybe as I could be, but I'm not bad as a visual artist. and I just can't do it like I used to, because I just get sick of it. I get bored of the drawing and the painting, and even if it looks amazing, I just feel like meh. I burn down it, and I have like flashbacks to like people telling me, I would produce this amazing thing, and they'd be like, oh, I don't like the color of their hair. Could you change that? And like, the customer's always right, and I felt like I wasn't doing art. I was their paintbrush, and I hated it. Right?
Yeah.
So
that makes an excellent point, because I know so many people. Like, I know a couple graphic designers, I know a couple photographers, I know people in various walks of life and professions, and it all starts out as like a hobby for them, as an actual love, something that they learned, something that they really enjoyed and was a passion in life. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, it just then becomes a job that they have to do to get a paycheck. And the passion or the love they once had for it seems to diminish, because, like you said, it's sort of like a demand almost. It's sort of like they have to do it. I was very much the same way with music. I used to actually, when I was in college at the time when I was doing creative media, I used to do rap battles in a few actual competitions. Yeah,
that's got to be interesting.
Yeah, I was actually a part of a few competitions. They went all around Britain. And so I've done different competitions like the Rap Olympics in Canterbury, Margate, Ramsgate, a few in London, a few in Cardiff. And I was doing rather well, and it was something that I just enjoyed. It was more therapeutic and an artistic form of expression, you know what I mean? I started writing when I was a child, when I was going through a lot, through my abusive household and things like that. It was just sort of an outlet. And then that outlet became a hobby, it became a passion, I became very good with it. Entered into competitions, but eventually when I started to actually reach out to a local music label, when they wanted to sign me, I had to go there and I had to like shadow different artists beforehand, just see how the business works for a couple of days. When I did that, they were asking so much of me that eventually that love and that passion that I had for it was gone. And then I took a couple of years away from it, and now I just do it for fun. I just do it as an outlet. I do it for something as expression. I actually took down my channel that I had up for all my professional stuff, and I was like, "Nah, I'm just going to keep this for me. I'm just going to keep this as something I enjoy, something like an outlet, or something that I do that's very therapeutic."
Amen,
I
man.
feel
and
like
I feel that way. Yeah, Fleshy, go ahead.
I feel like I walked out at the wrong moment. You do audio engineering? Is that what I heard?
No, I used to do rap music years ago. I used to enter into I was entered into different competitions and things like that. And it was always funny because I was always the small, scrawny little white kid, and we were living in a very urban area. And it was my uncle. He was a black dude. He's a black dude and he's Jamaican. So all his cousins used to come all the time. I used to be like the one little white boy that was there, and it was gigantic men just like competing with each other, or these teenagers competing with each other. I looked out of place. I massively looked out of place. And
I totally get that because I grew up well, I shouldn't say grew up. I spent several years of my formative years growing up in a black neighborhood, and then I moved, and I was still maintained, like most of my friends were that, but I was the heavy metal goth kid hanging out with all the black kids, so it was even funnier. You know what I mean? Like I totally didn't. It was like one of these things does not belong, and that was me. And then when I hit high school, it kind of like evened out a little bit. But later on, as part of that gig doing the web design stuff, one of the companies I worked for was a music company, and it was just like a little fly-by-night, online music thing. And they were hosting underground rap shows, like as part of like their stuff, and they needed people to wear many hats. So I was doing the art for it, I was helping design things for it, and then I was the bouncer for the show itself. I was the lead bouncer guy with the clipboard, and so I'm there. I'm a big dude. I'm 6'1", and well, now I'm back down to 240 something. At the time I was probably like 230 something. So I'm a pretty big dude. And then flanking me were these guys that were like, I was the littlest giant. And I was like the only white guy, what I mean? It was really fucking great. And I loved it. It was so much fun. And the music was good and the people were fun. I miss that shit, man. I would go, as much as I'm like a metalhead, I like everything. A metalhead goth guy, I like everything. And I miss that stuff. And I'd love to go back to some of that, and I don't know where that is anymore. I don't know if that world exists anymore. I feel like it doesn't, but maybe it does. But yeah, I totally get that. And even with magic, that's one of the reasons why I have like, I go through phases where it's like, I want to do rituals for people. And then I'm like, don't fucking ask me for a ritual. I don't want to do one for you. Even if you give me $400, $500, whatever the fucking, I don't even take that much. I'm a pretty cheap, magician. And I just go, you know what, fuck this. I don't want to do it for other people. I want to do it for me more again. Or this is like, I feel like I'm burning out because everybody's asking me for stuff that I don't feel like I want to do, but you paid me and I got to do it. And so like, I'm learning, as advanced as I may seem, there's still some newbie shit that I don't know. And one of those things is how to guard my own energy from the general public, so that this is about me and not about you. And if it's about me, which it was when I began, that's when the energy's in it and the interest and the excitement and the fun. And that's when I'm interesting to watch. But when it's about you guys, I just kind of trying to find reasons to say something cool, and it's not as much fun. So it's balance, right? I guess what we're getting at is balance, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
What's that?
I feel like that's been a current running throughout. I mean, thinking back, it started off with Lucifer, as you brought up, Connor. Just the balance between the two sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to balance that stuff. You got to balance the inner and the outer and the people and the community and the individuals and all that. So how long have we been running here for? Because I am feeling tired myself. How long have we been doing this for?
A little over 2 hours.
Yeah, I guess we'll prepare the wrap up.
You're gonna have to indulge me a little bit. What type of instrumentals did you rap over? What was your favorite style?
I used to enjoy boom baps. I actually used to like something like boom bap and somewhat of a jazz beat behind it, something like that. Like I used to like a lot of instrumentals, but then again, I'd always find myself on different tracks. It depends on the type, because rap itself isn't just one type. You have different categories under that. You have different genres of rap. And I used to love a lot of the aggressive stuff. That's actually why I got into it when I was young, was because there were a lot of guys bigger than me, and there were a lot of guys that were intimidating. And so I learned two different skill sets. I learned boxing, and then I learned lyricism. And if I couldn't beat you physically, I would beat you lyrically. Sometimes it would be the complete opposite. Sometimes I'd say, and this happened on one case, only one case ever happened. Most rap battles back in the day, you could say anything, and I literally mean anything. Some of it's so fucking awesome, it's unbelievable. And I used to do that. I used to be quick with it. And there was this one dude in there, I think this was the first time he was ever in there. And when I left the venue and I went out the back, it was him and a bunch of his friends, and they wanted to fight. And so he got mad at me when he couldn't beat me lyrically, and he didn't know that physically either. Because a lot of people used to underestimate me being a smaller dude. But I grew up in a Jamaican household. With dudes that were twice, if not three times my size. So my stature always looked very non-intimidating, but I knew how to handle myself.
I always feel like that's such a fucking sign of just a fragile ego. Is you really got to take something like that as, you know what, this guy just showed me up. I've got a lot to get better on. Like, I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm just going to take this as a sign to improve. Like you were saying,
I got to destroy the people I got to destroy you.
So like I was saying about fragile ego,
it really depends, dude. There's times where I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And then there's times like, no, that fucker's got to go down. It really depends on what it is. I totally get you, though. I'm just being a dick.
No.
It really depends. Like I could definitely admit, like when I was younger, when it came to fighting, especially when you start taking martial arts, especially back in the day before we had more realistic martial arts understandings like we have today, back when it was like ninjas and shit. The idea of even getting punched, like after I was taking martial arts for a couple of years, the idea of even getting punched pissed me off, because it's like I shouldn't even get fucking hit. That's how good I should be. And granted, that's usually how it went because I knew how to do stuff. But then I'd get that guy maybe like Connor, who knows how to box and he knows how to slip one in, and then I feel shown up, even though I might be able to win because I know how to do things that someone who just boxes might not know. I feel then, when I was a younger person anyway, I'd feel like I didn't win, even if I won. And it's like, I felt like I had to dominate you on every fucking level. Now I'm a lot better now. I'm better now, but there's definitely, you can definitely see it in me though. Like when I get into an argument, like I have to, not that I have to win, but if I know I'm right, if I believe I'm right, I don't let go. And that's a bad habit of mine. It's not that I think I'm like, it's not that I believe that I might be wrong and I do it anyway. If I think I even slightly could be wrong, I become a blubbering mess of apologies. Anybody who's ever caught me and found me wrong, I tend to like fall off a cliff trying to either rationalize it or something. Like I'm just become a mess. So that's one area where I got to work on, I got to admit. And you know,
I've been there a couple of times where you've had an argument about using certain words, and then you've used those words later, and just had to be fair to you, you're very good about conceding. Like, okay, well, yeah, I fell victim too.
Yep. And that's the thing. Like to me, that's healthy. Like that's why it's good for me to have those things and get, you know, and sometimes, you know, it's for like, especially when I'm saying don't use that word and then I use it and it's like a habit. And I have to tell you guys all the time that language is one of the biggest problems with spirituality, because our language is like X logic and spirituality is illogical, period. It has nothing to do with logic. So it's all fingers pointing at the moon and we get hung up on the finger all the fucking time. And so, you know, people will be like, well, master, you said the moon's over there, but then why are you scratching your finger? You know, and it's like, stop. It gets messy very quickly. But no, I mean, it does happen. Look, anybody who says that they don't have an ego problem sometimes has a huge fucking ego problem.
Oh yeah.
I am always humble. I never take shit too seriously. Sure.
I am a kind God.
It's healthy to have an ego of some sort. You know what I mean? You get people who are supremely narcissistic, and then you get these people who also try to sell themselves as being almost like a guru, you know, the most humble person on the earth. I have no hang-ups. I'm completely humble. Well, saying you're humble isn't very humble.
Yeah. It's the least humble thing. This is why when people say, Thorne, you're too egotistical or you need to be more humble, I actually double down on my ego and my lack of humility, because to me, that person is like the parable, not the part of the Bible, you know, pull the rod out of your own eye before you talk about the speck in mine. You know, I don't judge people. Like to me, that's the line. You know, I don't genuinely, I'm not saying zero, but I don't genuinely or generally judge people as if I'm superior to them. I'm not saying there's never been an exception. It doesn't mean if I get mad enough or if there's a certain thing, I go, this guy's a fucking moron or this girl's an idiot or something. But generally speaking, I look at everybody as a work in progress of divinity trying to remember itself. And so I generally don't judge people for their flaws that harshly. I only look at it like, is this going to hurt me or not? If it's not dangerous to me, I don't care. Like someone's like, how could you hang out with like EA? He's guys, dude, first of all, the guy I know is a rad dude. Yeah, the guy I know personally is great. And yeah, he's got his fucking problems. And so do I. And so does everybody I've ever known in my life. And you know what? I don't judge that shit. That's why I don't like this woke culture bullshit, because it's all about purity complexes and they don't exist. It's the modern neo-puritanical bullshit that I can't stand. It's the same people that were thumping the Bibles 30, 40, 50 years ago. Now they're thumping the internet. And it's you know, it's bullshit and I can't stand it. So when people come to you and they tell you that you need to be more humble or that you're too egotistical or something, that person, I usually wonder, you know, are they saying that because their own ego is bruised? And if that's the case, just ignore them. Just ignore, like, unless you really care about them. And even if you do, like, I'm inclined to kick that person when they're down, because to me, I want to raise you up. I mean, gentle ribbing is one thing, but anybody who gets to know me, gentle ribbing aside, I want you to succeed. I want all of our boats to go up. I want all of us to do well. And I want to have a flagship, but I want you to have one too if you can. Build one if you dare. I'm not going to stop you. I want you to be amazing, and I want you to be popular, and I want you to be powerful. And if you get bigger than me, then you better help me lift me up too, because I'm lifting you up whenever I can. I don't discriminate. I want the little guys on my channel. I want the big guys on my channel. I want us all to do well, right? Period. Maybe I'm a commie at heart, but I'm not, I don't know.
I know, speaking for myself, you're one of the people that anytime I have a success, you're always one of the first people to celebrate it. Not
I want to be.
Yeah, not like, there's those people who, when success does happen to you, they're not outwardly hostile about it, but they are very much, not counting it as your success, but their failure, and it comes across in their speech. I don't know about on camera. I don't know, but you
I'm a
being
bit of
my
a
friend and
stoic,
everything,
right?
you're
I'm a
always one
little
of
bit of
those
a
people.
I'm a little bit of a stoic, so I don't tend to get. I mean, I do get moved by things, trust me, but I don't tend to get blubbery unless something breaks me, And like your recent success in your thing made me really fucking happy. But at the same time, I'm not going to like call you like 5 times a day to congratulate you. To me, it's like, oh, fucking awesome. So it's like on the one hand, it's, I try to do it by actions, not by words and not by platitudes. I like to do it by actions. I like to reward people who treat me nice. I like people who I can trust, and I will always give them benefit of the doubt. I'll always like invite them to do stuff, or if they ask, I'll never say no. And, some people have to work hard to earn that place in my circle, and other people don't. But you know what? I think that I'm a dickhead, but I can be a good friend when I want to be. Oh,
I think so.
Speaking of shit, let's see. We got 57 people left. That's nice. Not quite as many as we had before, but my wife reminds me I'm a completely terrible businessman as always. So if I was doing all this for money, I'm a complete moron. How many of you guys like our mirrors? Sweetie, do you have one that I can show off handy?
I got you, homie.
It's not up for sale yet.
This one's not up for sale. This is one of the more laid back ones, but
It's gonna have eyes on it.
it's going to have eyes on it soon. There we go. Fleshy's got one. That's pretty cool. So for those of you who don't know, my wife makes them. They're a design that I created. She improved on it and made a really cool artistic expression. They're scrying mirrors. They work really well with the shadow current in particular, but you can use them for just about anything. It's a black mirror. They're triangular for a reason, if you understand my theories of the numbers and the dimensions and stuff. So they're Trinity mirrors, and the people who have them really like them, even if just for the artistic quality to them. She works really hard. If you're interested in these, especially the ones with the eyes and stuff, you can go and find them on our Etsy page. The link is in the description, and we've got about, I don't know if it's 10, 12, 15 of them coming out. And we got a couple more that'll probably come up soon. She's got to do like a repair on one of them because something happened in the creation. Something's got to be replaced, but it came out pretty good. So we've got these awesome mirrors, and we've been selling these for a while, and they sell like hotcakes usually. Christmas is around the corner. So if you're interested, go there and you know what, let me get the link and then we'll do that. Let me get the link here. Hold on. I'm such a terrible businessman. I really am. Like if I was just doing this for money. Is that a proud one?
This will be up soon.
Oh, let me put the light on for that one. Hold on. That one's cool. That one is cool. Give me a second, guys.
While he's getting that up, before I forget, somebody sent us a fresh meme they just made.
Oh, we'll have to check that out in a minute.
That's relevant to the channel.
So this bad boy right here is a new design by her. I don't know if she's named it or not, but it's got clockwork stuff on it. The inspiration was sort of Nyarlathotep or Kronos or all that kind of stuff. I mean, come on, guys. Look at that. You got gearworks all over it. You got tentacles all over it. Imagine scrying with this bad boy, right? So none of these are consecrated or anything like that. That's up to you to do. But these are all works of art. They're a little delicate, some of them. Some of them are a little bit more delicate than others. So shipping, we try to make sure that they come to you safe and secure. But I'm really proud of what she's been doing with this stuff. And some of them are pricey. Some of them are very cheap. So it really depends on you. Take a look. And if you're interested, I got the link here. I will put it to you in a moment. Give me a second here.
Etsy?
I couldn't hear it. What was that?
I said they look dope. Are they on Etsy?
Yeah, they're
They
on
are,
Etsy.
yeah.
I'm putting the link in the chat right now for the video.
Yeah, I need an Scrymer, and I'm gonna have to check out them.
And we actually have some that are, I don't know if she's got one of the big ones coming out, but we have some, that's a moderately sized one. We have small ones, and then we've got like pretty big ones that we do. Those are like 2 and change for those. So I don't think she has any handy right now. But this is a smaller size.
You know, somebody was telling me recently about like they wish they had more disposable income because they want one of those mirrors. I'm like, yeah, sorry to say, I was one of the people who convinced you guys to raise the price.
Yeah,
because like I know what kind of work goes into them, and it's like, no, a higher price is absolutely fair.
And love. And if you do want a custom one, although winter, like the Christmas season's going to be tough because, especially for my wife, she works like 7 days a week, 14 hours a day until Christmas, pretty much. So you probably won't get a custom by Christmas. But if you want custom work, or Connor, if you've got one you really want that you see on there, if you can't get it right now, but you know you're going to get it, message my wife, message the store, and we'll work something out with you guys. So if you got a custom, she doesn't always do them, but she likes doing customs when she can. So give her a, you know, if you see something you like, or you got something in mind that you think we could do, hit us up and we'll see if we can do it. If not, we'll tell you. So Cameron Carson asks, how much time does it take to make those? And I think it really varies, but each step can take a different amount of time. Maybe Camilla will answer for you guys. I think she's typing right now, so she'll answer. A lot goes into them. Some of them are easier and quicker than others.
Typing.
Yeah. So let's see this memo. What's the memo?
Oh, god damn you. I just fucking scrubbed it off. Okay, here it is.
Ooh.
That comes from Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Wyatt. That was very funny. Ooh, Chaos made a good point. Control is the opposite of real power. Real power is effortless. You got that right. That's a good way to put it. Like we were talking about control earlier.
Yeah, I think in a way, wanting control is a kind of paranoia of just, I'm so scared of things being different that I want to grab hold so tight that it cannot change. It's being a little bit weak to adaptation, and eventually things are always going to change.
Mm-hmm.
Gripping on is only going to make it more painful.
So Jasonia says a scrying mirror with a Lucifer sigil built in somewhere. I agree. We've thought about doing more stuff on it. One of the things is scrying mirrors are kind of like, some of them are artistic, right? She's got some that are more for artistic purposes. They're more colorful. I don't think a scrying mirror should be too gaudy and grab your eye too much, but having some accents can be cool. So it really depends on what your intentions are with it. If you're really going to use it for scrying, maybe simpler could be better. So think accordingly. But I think something like a Lucifer sigil somewhere on there is absolutely something, you know, like I'd help do that for sure. So message us if that's like what you want, and we'll see about doing one. Maybe we'll do a couple of those just for fun. I got to get around to finishing these skulls. I got a couple of skulls I've been started working on. I haven't done them. I'm lazy.
It's one of the most fucking goth statements I've heard in a while.
I gotta finish these skulls, man. I gotta dig it out. But I got stuff I gotta do, you know, that I want to put out, and I just don't, because I'm fucking, you know, what's the word? I got full of apathy when it comes to this shit lately. So, oh, there we go. Somebody favorited the store. Thank you for favoriting the store, whoever that was.
Oh, okay, cool. That's what that notification is. And hey, we've been plugging our shit. I'd like to invite you, Connor. Do you want to plug your shit one more time?
Alter Eyes, just in case you're interested. Before Connor, these actually are neon, like they're ultraviolet, so you can hit them with a black light, and they'll do cool shit. She's getting it. Go ahead, Connor. She's getting the light. So.
Yeah, man. So most of the people, they can find me on TikTok. They can find me on YouTube, and they can find me on Facebook. The Infernal Obelisk is my name, literally under everything that I use. So if you want to check out some of my content, you can check me out there. I do different content on different platforms. So the majority of my content on Facebook and on TikTok and on YouTube are different on different topics. So there's something different on each platform.
And for those of you watching in the future, just go to the top comment. It will be pinged below this video, and you can find the link to all of Connor's stuff. I expect you probably don't need it, because if you're watching our show, I imagine you probably know who Connor Kendall is anyways, but it's going to be there if you liked what he had to say and want to see more of him.
I don't know if that's going to work, honey. Yeah, no, you need the... it's kind of working, yeah. My wife's got the black light going, so let me off the light.
Ooh.
Flashlight.
You always lose that thing. You're such a loser. Hobby! So, as you guys can see, these things are really good under a black light. So, pretty much if it's got eyes, it does this. She's also
What's
got
that?
some...
What's that weird stain in the background that just showed up?
turn the light off, honey. There's a stain somewhere, apparently. That oh, my.
Probably the glue we used.
I mean, sometimes it shoots over my shoulder. You know, what can I say? So, all right, let's wind it down. Let's get, because poor Connor, he's over in the UK there.
Oh,
And
what? How early is it for you right now, dude?
It's let's see, it's now 5:39 a.m.
are you?
Dude,
are you?
I would be leaving for work right now. Jesus, I'm sorry, dude, but I appreciate you being here.
It's all good, man. Like I'm literally here, like just drifting off to the lights in the background, and I'm trying to engage in conversation at the same time. So I'm like, I feel like I'm being hypnotized right now.
Welcome to every Thursday night for me.
Oh shit. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm definitely not insomniac, but I definitely have a problem with my sleeping habits. And I have found that, like, I mean, by nature, I don't like to go to bed before 2 or 3 in the morning. And if I don't watch it, I can easily stay up till like 3 days go by. So,
Oh yeah.
you know, and for a little while there, especially when I started doing this stuff again, like especially 2020, I became so nocturnal I got sick again, because it's like nocturnal is good for me, but only so far. If I stay up enough to see the sunrise, I feel ill. If I go to bed at like 2 in the morning, I'm good. You know, like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning is good. If I get up by 10 in the morning, I'm good. But if I stay up as late as Connor is right now, I can't do that every day anymore, man. That's just, even if I have a perfectly dark house, it just I know it's daytime.
It fucks you up.
Yeah, it does. Like I can see, I can see the sunlight even when it's like, there's no way to see. I just know it's daytime. It really bothers me.
So I'm gonna let us wrap up, but a final thing. I see Susan Wojcicki say, and with that, I don't have to babysit this dumpster fire anymore. Peace out. I might check in to see how the cancellation process is taking place. See you from Arasaka Tower.
Oh, yeah. You know what? The Arasaka is a really awesome rifle from World War II the Japanese used. And it was actually a really good bolt-action rifle. It's actually one of the first rifles I ever shot. But anyway, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate having you guys here in the channel watching us tonight. I'm sure Connor really, you know, appreciates you guys. And maybe he'll come back on
And
again,
the
like
people
I said.
appreciate you, dude.
If fuck yeah, exactly. And maybe Connor, I don't know if he wants to do a political stream with me. I think it might get off the wall and crazy. He sounds like we'd probably agree on a lot and probably have some interesting insights, but I get the feeling we'd have a lot to say that would be resonant, especially about media. I have a feeling that would be a fun conversation. So if you ever want to do that, Connor, let me know. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And but yeah, where can they find you again, Connor? You have a YouTube channel and all that stuff. Is there? Do you have a link tree or anything that makes it easy?
Yeah, they can find me on TikTok, they can find me on YouTube, and they can find me on Facebook. I got a link tree on my TikTok at the moment. I just set it up. Maybe I'll set it up on my other platforms too, but they are the 3 major platforms that you can find me on. Okay,
cool. And if somebody wants to hire you for services, do you have like an email address, or how do they get a hold of you for that?
Just reach out to me via Facebook. You can just reach out to me on the page there. That's where I handle most of my clientele.
All right, badass. So, all right, guys. I know we're cutting it short a little bit earlier tonight, but my man needs to sleep, and I could probably use some too. So,
I think we all can.
yeah, I don't think we got anything specific planned for next week, although I know we are trying to get a serial on soon, by the way. A serial Krabat
Oh,
wants to
fuck
come
yeah.
on. And I think that'll be fun. So we've had all the UK people, and now it's time to get some awesome German accents going on in here. So and you know who I should reach out to again, who I haven't had on in a long time? Nicolene Albright. She hasn't been on in a long time. We should get her back on again. She's a cool chick. See if she could come on. But we'll get some more interesting guests on. And for the rest of you guys, make sure you're subscribed to my BitChute, please, because tomorrow is dropping the new video. It will not come out on YouTube if you want to see it. The link, of course, will be. I'll be making a post about it, or maybe I'll make a quick intro video and then, you know, try to siphon you guys off, you know, pirate you guys off of YouTube to these other platforms. I'm sick of this fucking place, but I'll never stop using it as long as they let me. If you can, use the aliens technology against them. That's what I always say. So that's what we're gonna do. So, you know, like a bunch of monkeys jumping in a fighter plane. That's me, man. I'm stealing your freaking shit. So let's get everybody off onto this alt tech platform tomorrow to check out my stuff. It looks like Eric Wedding's still here. Thanks for staying here, brother. Anybody else who was here from the beginning, thank you so much. And I don't know, Fleshy, what do we always say? How do we end this crap?
Tell your friends, warn your enemies, and mind the motherfucking shadows.
And never take yourself more seriously than your enemies do.
Good night,
Anything you want
fuckers.
to add, Connor?
I'll take that as a no.